It worked. Did it work? It worked. Hello. Happy Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's Abs is here. We're doing Abs's veteran spotlight, who is a brand new vet. Like, you could still smell the fucking chow hall food on his breath and his farts. For those of you who don't know, who have never been around for one of these before, it's basically just we're going to be having a conversation and going to be learning more about Abs and, you know, what he did, stuff in the military, what branch, and, you know, all of the above. So with that being said, also, I'm not just a guy pretending to be a guy playing another guy. Can't tell. I've done a few things in the military before, but again, this is not about me. So first and foremost, Abs, welcome in, my dude.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking time out of your newly not so busy schedule.
My sweet unemployment.
Yeah. We'll be the first to welcome you to the first Civ Div. It's pretty nice out here, I might say. But yeah. Why don't you start off first with what branch of the service were you in?
The good old U.S. Navy.
The Navy. Oh, done. Interviews done. We're out of here.
Yep.
That's cool. What made you choose Navy?
See, that's a funny story already.
Well, here we go.
So I was born and raised in Texas. And circa 2018, 2019, I was working 3 jobs and barely scraping by.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was not a great time.
So
I was like,
been there, yeah.
I was like, what's left? Yes, the one thing I said I would never do. I will join the military.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm not going to go with the Army because it's the Army.
It's fair.
I'm not going to make it as a Marine.
That's fair.
My 2 options are the Navy and the Air Force.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. I understand.
And a couple of 2 of my uncles are in. One's a Marine and one's Air Force / Army.
Okay.
Because he's a pilot. And I was like, what do y'all think? They're like, well, join the Air Force. They've got all the best shit. And I was like, all right. So I called the Air Force recruiting office in my city. Got a voicemail. And I was like, all right, I'll leave a message with them. And then I called the Navy recruiter. It was also a voicemail.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess whichever one gets back to me first is the one I'll join.
Yeah.
And like an hour later, the Navy recruiter calls me. He's like, hey, heard you wanted to join. And I was like,
yeah.
Yes. Where do I sign the papers at?
Instantly sold,
like,
huh?
Yep. He was like, wait, you don't need me to like do a spiel or anything? I was like, nah.
Oh.
Just point me in the right direction.
Easy recruitment for sure.
Oh yeah.
And so I feel like it was how far after graduating high school did you get into, well, deciding that the 3 jobs thing wasn't working for you?
About a year.
That's fair. It's what it took me. I hear that a lot too, is people are like, I'm gonna go to college and work, and then they did, and they were like, fuck this.
Yeah, I didn't do well enough in school to go to college, so I was like, well, fuck it, I'll just join the workforce. It's not that easy.
Yeah, same. All right, so you joined the Navy. Now, do you remember what it was like going into, was it they call basic?
Basic, boot camp, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. What was do you remember what it was like? How long ago was this, by the way?
So this was June to August of 2019.
Dang, which is crazy. This is not that long ago.
Yeah.
I always forget. I'm I'm very ruggedly handsome and I look young, but whew. 2019 to join the military to me sounds crazy, but
all right, look, some of us weren't born in the 80s, Bob.
Oh, it's it's crazy. I know, it's insane. Anyways, like
Sorry
I
to break
said,
it to you.
it's not about me, but geez, it just, when I hear 2019, it kind of, I feel like I should probably like invest in a walker or something.
Yeah, so I got to the base in Illinois in June 20th, 2019 was the night of arrival.
Do you remember how you were feeling? Like, so how did that happen? You went to the airport, they flew you from Texas to wherever it's at?
Chicago O'Hare.
Okay, so Chicago.
And then from Chicago O'Hare, they then put us all on a bus and we had to drive like 2 hours to the base.
Do you remember what that bus ride felt like?
I had to piss really badly.
Yeah.
But they told us, don't, because you have to pee in a cup.
Oh.
And your first night. So drink water and don't piss yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so crazy. I was like, man, I really got to go. Like, that was like my main issue the entire time.
Yeah. What was that?
I was holding it for like 2 hours.
I mean, I bet, especially with a long bus ride, you know, and like, I bet it was quiet too on the bus.
Oh, yeah. Dead quiet.
Like a pin drop. If you would have pissed yourself, people would have heard it.
No, absolutely. You hear a little pitter patter.
Yeah. Now, what was it like the first time you guys met your, what are they called? What are your instructors called there?
So ours are called RDCs.
RDCs. Okay. What is that? What's it stand for?
Recruit Drill Commander, I believe.
Okay. And what was it like when you met your first one?
So we met all three of ours at the same time. So every what they call division. So it starts out at about anywhere from 95 to 100 recruits per division. And so we have 3 RDCs per division. Sometimes more if you have guys who are in training to become RDCs.
Okay.
We didn't have any, so we only had 3. So ours were a UT1, HM1, and an IT1.
Now, did they come in like did they get you off the bus? So like those were the first ones you saw and they were with you the entire time?
No, so they have a separate in-processing team.
Okay.
That is the first people you meet. It's a lot of higher up khakis. So E7 and up for the most part.
Nice.
So I was getting yelled at by chiefs the entire night.
That's what a good time.
Yep. And they instill in you very quickly that you have no rights.
Yep, like the good old days.
Oh yeah.
Now, so they come get you off the bus. Like for us, they put us on yellow footprints.
So for us, in the middle of the hallway in the intake building, there are all the different alphabet flags. Alpha through so A through Z.
Sure.
All the different signal flags. And very quickly, they're like, you will not step on my flags. So you had to figure out a way to get from one side of the hallway to the other without looking like a goddamn idiot. And they had us all line up shoulder to shoulder on either side. We had to take off any hoodies, jackets, overshirts, anything like that. So we were literally just in like the barest, like our jeans, shoes, and a shirt. That's all I brought.
Yeah.
And I also brought a coat because it was Chicago.
Sure.
I was like, it might be cold. It wasn't.
Yeah. Now,
have you take that?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And then your phone, keys, anything like that. The only things you still have on you are your debit card and your ID. That's it.
Yeah.
Your wallet goes in there, everything else. Just those two cards. That's all you get to keep.
Now, did they put it in a box or something?
Yep. Put it in a box and you mail it home.
Oh, you mail it home. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. So and then so they have you put everything in there, and then they also have you put all the rest of your clothes in there and your shoes once they give you your sweats and everything else that they hand over to you at the first night.
Yeah, your government issued stuff.
Yep, I'm in navy blue shorts and navy blue sweats over that, and then a yellow t-shirt, a bright neon yellow t-shirt.
Yeah.
With U.S. Navy on the front of it, and a navy blue hoodie over that also has U.S. Navy on that. And then all of my other stuff goes in a box, tape it up, write my address on it, gets shipped home.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So I now have my ID and my debit card. Those are the only things that I brought with me that I have left.
Jeez. Now, are you at this point, if you remember, are you like, when you're there and they strip you down and stuff, were you ever at the point of like, I fucked up? I should have just stayed working these shitty jobs. Like I
hadn't gotten to that point yet. I was very much like, all right. I mean, I was like, this makes sense. That it's military indoctrination.
Yeah.
They are setting the precedence that everything that you now own, you don't own. It has been given to you by the Navy.
Sure. It's all everything you own is government property.
Yep. And then they shaved my head.
Now, did you have like long hair or anything beforehand, or did you kind of like?
Yeah. So I didn't have like super long hair, but it came to like just past my nose.
Okay.
In length from the top of my head, like if you pull it over to like the front of my forehead. So like, it was semi long, but like I styled it so like it stayed out of my face.
Sure.
All of it gone.
Yeah.
I had stubble left.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, damn, man. I was like, now I feel naked.
Yeah. Now
I can feel the air currents.
Yeah. Now it's 10 degrees cooler. So you guys go through, you're doing processing and your intake and all that type of stuff. What was it like? Because I know they ramp it up from your processing. I forgot what they're called, instructors, commanders, or whatever, to your basic everyday, like the people you're going to be with the next few months.
The three guys that are going to be yelling at me for the next 2 months.
Yeah. What was that like when you first met them? Like, what was the difference of intensity where you were like, oh shit?
It was so like we got like some people got it a lot worse than I did because I am able to actually follow instructions.
Yeah.
So like no one really got in my face whenever like I was doing intake. And then after that, they had us all sit down with all of our gear.
Yeah.
Which included a black backpack that expands and it was fully filled, as well as a sea bag that was fully filled. And then they marched us over to where we'd be staying for the next week to finish all of our processing, like medical stuff, setting up bank accounts or like transferring banks if you had to, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Essentially restarting your life.
Sure.
And getting all your medical stuff down on paper and everything and doing eye tests and all that.
Yeah.
And so for that first week, we were in a building that they call... So all the buildings on that base are named after either boats or submarines.
Yeah.
That are either actively out on the water or retired. So, or it's named after... The one that we were staying in for intake was called Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. For some reason, that's the naming scheme.
I mean, it makes sense. Sticking with like tradition, you know, like this is where we came from type thing, you know, that makes sense.
Yep. So we were there for a week. The morning after intake, we had not slept. It took the entire night.
Yeah.
So I'm already sleep deprived.
Yeah.
And our three RDCs walk in, introduce themselves, and they're yelling the whole time. And they're like, all right, our job is to make you into basically trained U.S. sailors. And so they set the precedent very quickly that they were not taking shit from any of us.
Okay.
And it was so hard with our first RDC
Yeah.
Because like he's overall in charge, and then he had the 2 guys under him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because of seniority, I'm not quite sure how their stuff works.
Mm-hmm.
But he was a UT1, a utility man, so he was one of the construction guys that ended up deploying with Marines overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Interesting.
And setting up like bases and shit.
Yeah.
And that was his entire career up until this point. He had never stepped foot on a boat. He had been in the shit since the beginning.
Yeah.
And he was like 5'2",
Mm-hmm.
but man's was yoked as fuck.
Yeah.
So I had to look down to look him in the eyes, and it felt wrong.
Yeah.
But then he very quickly made it clear that it did not matter. I was like, I am
just because you were
I'm
taller
not
than
gonna
him.
cross this man.
just because you were taller than him doesn't mean you're shit.
Yeah, no, I felt so small in front of that man. I was like, all right.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a drill instructor like that. Because I'm 6'4", and he was probably 5'5", maybe 5'5". Whatever the minimum height requirement is, that's what he was. And he would he would stand on foot lockers, and he would snap his fingers, and then he would just go like this, and you would have to like duck down so you're, at his eye level, because he wasn't gonna look up. So
Nope. Yep, it was the same with ours. He's like, I will not look up.
Yeah.
You will come down to my level. I was like, fuck.
Yeah, it was funny.
Here I am trying to stand at attention while crouching.
Yeah, it was a pain in the ass, but that's what they did to you, Now, while you were in basic, what was like the hardest? What was the hardest thing for you?
Probably the isolation, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I hear that a lot.
I had to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I hear that a lot, that people. It's very rarely, talking to people is like, oh, the physical stuff. It's more of like just the mental fatigue was the biggest factor for me.
Yeah, that was definitely it for me, because throughout the entire 2 months, you only get maybe 3 phone calls the entire time.
Yeah.
And so being in this very foreign environment around 100 other dudes, or like 98 other dudes that you do not know.
Yeah.
And so all of you were essentially like slowly trauma bonding over everything that's going on and happening to you. Yeah. And then hearing a familiar voice just fucking hurts.
Yeah, it definitely can be comforting for sure.
Yeah.
Now, what was your favorite thing that you did during your basic?
Probably the two things, like they kind of go like side by side. One was our 2-day gun shoot training.
Okay.
For the 9mm.
Okay.
Because I've always liked that kind of stuff, and I was so pissed. I was a single point from getting expert qualification. Still bothers me.
Yeah.
1 point. And then the other thing is actually our final exam. At the very end of it, it's called battle stations. And essentially what they do is you wake up at like 5 a.m. like normal.
Yeah.
Go through your entire day. You do a march around the entire base while doing cadences. Well, it's not even a march, it's a run.
Sure.
You run in formation around the entire base doing cadences, and then shower, pack up a bag for all the things you're going to need for the night. And then from about 8 p.m. until about 7:30 the next morning, you're going to be in this exercise.
Oh, okay. Sounds
and they
fun.
take you to this like underground like basement room that's really big under one of the main buildings. And there's a mock boat.
Oh, wow.
Like a whole ass mock boat.
Yeah.
Come to find out later that it was made by Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like super interactive and like everything. Because it starts out as like a quote unquote a normal day would be like. So you've got like stores on load for like all the equipment that's gonna like all the perishable items and everything that have to be loaded onto the boat before like it gets underway.
Yeah.
And you go through like just like daily tasks and stuff. You're like, okay, this is pretty normal. Taking the mooring lines off, getting ready to go underway. And then like halfway through it, they simulate missiles hitting the ship.
Yeah.
And then shit hits the fan. You gotta go.
Yeah. That actually sounds pretty that sounds very entertaining, and I would love to watch it, but I'd actually like to be a part of it. Even even my age, I think it would be pretty
like
fun
if
to
you
to do.
I feel like if they had like made that into like an interactive thing that like people could do, they would make so much money.
Yeah, I absolutely think so. And I also feel like that it would definitely be you could make quite a bit of money off of that. Like the type of experience to be able to do that, especially if it felt like real, like
it did. Like the boat rocked and everything.
Yeah, I feel like it could be an incredible experience and quite a genius business idea. I might have to look into,
Yeah, because once the missiles hit, then you have to like there's spaces that are on fire, spaces that are flooding, injured personnel that you have to evacuate and get over to the medical bays.
Now, how many people are doing this at the time? Like, how many people are operating like while you're doing this? Like
my division was around 75 people at this point.
Okay.
We had about 25 guys drop or get sent backwards in training, and I think we had 3 or 4 other divisions with us. I think
all on the and now all of you guys are running different sections of the ship.
Yep.
That's crazy, dude.
And then there are certain scenarios where the divisions had to interact and work with each other.
That's nuts, dude. He's like
so you had to work with
people.
Yeah, you had to work with people who you had never spoken to for the last 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And suddenly you both had to be on the same fucking wavelength to get this job done.
Sure. I mean, it simulates fucking real life. I mean, yeah. I was in Iraq. I was deployed in Iraq with people, and then all of a sudden you just got thrown together, and you're like, we make this work or we don't. And if we don't, we probably die. And like, yep. Same
and
page.
Like, that's the situation they put us in.
Yeah. And you get on the same page real quick. So
yep, you either succeed together or you fail together.
Yeah. Failure is usually death. So especially on a ship like that, you're probably out in the middle of fucking nowhere. So that's cool. Now, that's basically that is the last thing you do, and then you graduate?
Yep.
Nice.
That is the very last thing.
What's your favorite story from Basic?
Oh, favorite story from Basic.
Yeah. I
think there's 2. There's one from Intake and then one from our what they call the Pride Run, which was our Cadence run at the end.
Sure.
So on Intake night, remember how I said that they said, hey, you need to provide a sample Intake night.
Sure.
You have to hold it. There was a guy who couldn't.
Yeah.
And I'm just standing there in line, and this dude in front of me was whispering. He's like, "Hey, I really need to go. Are they almost done?" And I was like, "Dude, I don't fucking know."
My first time.
I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "It's my first time here." And he's like, "Yeah, me too." I'm like, "Oh wow, really?"
Yeah.
And so this man is doing like the dance and everything, and finally, I just see it start creeping down his leg, like his pants start getting wet. And I was like, "Oh, dude."
Yeah, that's gross.
Please tell me you didn't. And he looks at me beat fucking red, and I was like, no. I took like 5 steps back.
Ugh.
And then one of the intake guys looked over, and he's like, "Did you just?" And he looks down, and there's a small puddle, and he's like, "Jesus fucking Christ." That guy got made fun of for that for the rest of his time there.
Oh, I bet it followed him to when he was fucking in the fleet too.
Probably. I would not doubt it.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Ugh.
They also lost like 60 people that night.
What?
So when they were breaking us up into divisions, they're like, all right, all of you stand up and start going that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people weren't listening, so people just kept standing up and leaving with that group.
Sure.
So like an extra 60 people left.
That makes sense.
And then one of the intake guys looks over, he's like, where did all these people go? And we're like, don't know, man.
This is my first time.
Yeah, they lost like 60 people for like 2 hours.
That's great. That's funny.
I was like, what the fuck?
Oh shit. Well, I mean, they don't know, They just,
they just kept going, and it got to like me and another guy next, like me and a couple guys around me were like, I feel like we shouldn't leave. I'm gonna sit here.
Smart. Yeah. That's funny. All right.
Yeah,
So what happened the other time?
During the Pride run, so we have like they instill like a whole like small miniature like leadership ladder within the division,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your AROC and your RPOC,
mm-hmm.
and they're the like essentially co-leaders for the entire division. They're in charge of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If you fuck up, they fucked up.
That makes sense.
Type thing.
Yeah.
And so RPOC would be the one that was leading the division for like all the marches and everything, and then AROC was the one that was doing all the step counting and like cadences and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Our AROC, she was a tiny thing, like 5'0" nothing, little Asian girl who could not sing and run at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was struggling.
That's funny.
And like I'm running in the very front, just chilling. Like some people are like struggling a little bit. I'm just vibing at the very front. And so one of our RDCs, he was like, "You start singing," and I was like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
I was like, "You what now?" And he's like, "You heard me. Get out of ranks and start singing." And I was like, "Fuck, okay." And like I just started going, and by the end of it, he looks at me. He's like, "Why the fuck weren't you? Why weren't you in this position the entire time?" And I was like, "Cause I didn't want to be." The fuck? Like,
that's too much. Yeah.
I didn't want to be in charge of people. I didn't want to be in the spotlight. I kept my head low, and I kept it that way.
Yeah. That's funny.
The less you know, the less times I have to talk to you, the better.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We were just singing cadences and running.
Yeah, you didn't know my name, which meant I was doing a great job.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think it wasn't until like the third week that they even realized I like really existed.
Yeah. I knew guys who just just ghosted through boot camp, where it was like we were getting ready to graduate and drill instructors were still like, your name is don't know.
That's it.
Yeah.
You are now guy.
Yeah.
You are now guy.
Absolutely. So from there, after you finished, where did it take you? Where'd you head to next?
So after graduation, I was on hold. I was in holds for what was it, 3 or 4 months? So in that time, like they can't send you anywhere.
Yeah.
So you end up becoming essentially staff on the base.
Sure.
And so it's really funny because even now, like you can tell which guys had to do that and which guys didn't.
Yeah.
Because the ones that do, because on our uniforms we got the 2 patches on our shoulders. We got the flag and the snake on the other patch. The Don't Tread on Me snake. So those patches aren't required in uniform. But the only way for people to be able to tell the difference between you and the recruits who are wearing the same uniform as you is if you are wearing those patches.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So all of us that had to be in holds during that time are still very adamant to this day about always wearing our patches.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
I never went anywhere without them on.
What why were you in hold?
Because they had to wait for people to filter out of the schools that I was going to be going into.
Mm-hmm. So that
I was essentially just waiting for my seat.
Okay. What school was this?
So the rate that I signed up for was AECF. Which is Advanced Electronics Computer Fire.
Okay.
So that rate then, by roll of the dice, breaks down into two other rates.
Mm-hmm.
You either get ET, which is Electronics Technician, or FC, which is Fire Controlman.
Mm-hmm.
Similar but different jobs. And I wanted to be an FC, and I ended up getting lucky and actually grabbing FC.
Okay. So you just had to wait for a spot to open, basically.
Yeah, essentially. And then, so in the time where I was more or less staff on that base, they just had us standing like watches most days. And that's actually where I ended up meeting my partner, who I am married to now.
Oh, nice. It all worked out. It all worked out.
Yep.
Now, so you go from Chicago to
another base in Chicago.
Oh fuck! So you just basically like you just traveled a couple miles down the road to fucking
it's literally a mile and a half from the recruit training command.
That's fucking sucks, dude.
It is across it's literally across the highway.
Oh shit! So you're seeing the same scenery that you were seeing for the last few months. Ugh.
Yep, I ended up living in the Chicago, Illinois area for about a year and some change.
Wow. Now
to finish all of my schooling there.
Now, so I know in the Army, once you finish your basic, you're on like student status. Is that the same thing with the Navy? So like you graduate, so you're technically still basically have an instructor with you, type of thing, right?
Yes and no. So you get a lot more freedom after you get out of basic,
but you're not free.
No, so like I had to, like I was living on base in a barracks. And Monday through Friday, I was going to school, and they had like admin who were over us, like at the barracks and also at the schoolhouse.
And
I would wake up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go to school, and then go back to the barracks. Do some like clean up the fucking barracks as a whole and some other shit, and then I would either be on duty that day or the other 3 days, because it was a 4 section. So once every 4 days I had to stand duty, and the other 3 days, around like 15 or 1600, they'd drop Liberty. And then we could go about our day.
Okay. So, I mean, that relatively sounds a lot like what it was when I went to school. But did you have a instructor like marching you from point A to point B or stuff like that?
Not really. So they would muster us in the morning, and we would all form ranks and like march to the schoolhouse.
Sure.
But like it was like none of the like higher up, like none of like the E6s and like the E5s and E7s, none of them like followed us there. They were just like, all right,
go to school.
Go.
Okay.
Go to school.
Yeah. So it sounds like a lot more freedom.
If you don't go, we'll fucking know.
Yeah, we'll know. Yeah. It sounds like a lot more freedom than like the Army had because I went to school at Fort Lee in Virginia, and which there's just it's an Army base that has a few Marines on it. But like we would march ourselves to school and be accountable and stuff like that. But like they were on student status and they were marched everywhere. They had a instructor with them, like a not a drill instructor, but whatever they call them, the army instructor. I don't know. But they basically had one of the instructors there, like marching them, taking them to wherever they need to go, and like the only time that they didn't have an instructor is like they had their own free time after, like whatever hours.
That's wild. Yeah, no. We'd march ourselves to school.
Yeah, so
and then around like 11, 12-ish, they'd break us for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would all go down to the chow halls, eat,
good old chow,
then go back.
Yeah. Now, what kind of stuff were you learning in school? Like, what was?
So FC stands for fire controlman, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, so you're a firefighter?" I'm like, "No, technically, everyone in the Navy is a firefighter. However, my rate specifically, FCs in general deal with all the large weapon systems on board ships. So any of your anti-air missile defenses, anti-craft, either air or seacraft defenses. FCs are in charge of just about all those.
Okay.
And so for my very first school, it was ATT, Advanced Electronics, some technician, I think, is what it stood for.
Sure.
And so essentially they were just teaching us like electric theory and how to work on, and like how all the components that would make up like circuit cards and stuff inside our systems worked, so that we knew how to troubleshoot them and fix them. And then after that, I went to my primary school, which taught me how to be a basically trained FC. So I got to learn about Tomahawk, Ram, NATO Sea Sparrow, Sea Whiz, and the 5-inch guns.
Now, so these are separate schools. Is this different locations?
Yeah, so, nope. ATT and my primary school were both in Chicago, right across from each other.
Damn.
Both those buildings were in spitting distance of each other.
Oh, boy. So the first half was just a generalized, like, overview of it, and then the second half was, like, you're getting into, like, the meat and potatoes of everything?
No, both of them were still very generalized. So ATT was general electronics, and then FCA school was generalized FC specific.
Oh, okay. So it was just
school.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, how long was your first school? Your general
electronics?
Yeah, I was gonna say electric, and I was like, I don't think.
So that one was 7 weeks.
Okay, yeah, not so bad.
And then my primary A school was 4 months.
Okay, little, and that makes sense because it's specialized.
Yep.
Now, how big was your class in your general electronics? Like, how big was?
I think there was like 15 of us.
Oh, not bad at all. Okay.
Yeah, like it was about the same for all of my schooling. There's like between 15 and 20 of us.
Okay. Yeah. That's not that bad at all.
Granted, not everyone that started those classes passed, but you know.
Sure. I mean, that makes sense too. It seems like it's a little technical, and I feel like some people might not realize that until they get there.
Yeah, the electronic school was used as a filter school. If you couldn't pass that, you were not cut out for that job.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then you got reassigned to another job. It was never one that you wanted.
Yeah, it's the needs of the Navy at that point.
Yep.
Now, in your first year, the General Electric, in the schooling, when you were doing that, what was the most enjoyable thing that you did while you were there?
I mean, I already knew all the material just because I had done some of the similar stuff to it outside of the Navy beforehand. So none of it was really new to me. The only thing I really learned that I hadn't before was how to count in or how to do math equations in binary, hexadecimal, octadecimal. I forget what it's called, but I learned how to count like 4 different number languages.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So 0, 1, 2, or 0 to 6, 0 to 8, so on and so forth.
I only hobble on English, so I don't. If you say so, if you could count in numbers.
Yeah, it's weird, but
Yeah,
it helps for some
sure.
of the electrical theory and how different components work.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in a term of, you know, like it makes your everything needs to be has its own language, you know.
Yeah.
So, what I mean is, like, was there any fun story where like what was the most enjoyable part? Like, what was something cool that happened there that like you remember fondly when you're like, oh, when I was, you know, at the school here, we did this story was, you know what I mean?
Nothing really too crazy happened while I was at that. Like nothing like really memorable happened at that school because it was a very crammed course.
Sure.
Because we were taking a test every single day.
Ooh, that sucks.
Because it's supposed to be like all with the amount of coursework that's in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be, I think it's like 5 months worth of coursework.
Damn, in that short amount of time.
Crammed into 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh. So it was very much a nose to the grindstone environment.
Yeah.
You would get in, start doing all your lessons, go to chow, come back, finish your lessons.
Jeez.
Go home and cry.
Yeah. Right. Now,
and if you weren't understanding something, you went to extra study after class.
Jeez.
And stayed there for like 2 hours and then went home.
Till you got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just sounds like a very filter kind of school.
Yeah.
Now you get through there and you go to your general FC school.
Yep.
Now is that what kind of stuff are you learning in this school?
So once we got there, we started learning about the actual systems that we had the possibility of working on.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got NATO Sea Sparrow, which is a missile system that does that's a defense weapon. So if there's any enemy missiles or anything like that coming towards the boat, they'll launch intercept missiles from Sea Sparrow.
Okay.
And there's also RAM, which is the rolling airframe missile system. Same thing as Sea Sparrow, but it has a shorter range than NATO.
Okay.
So if there's too many targets or NATO just misses, then RAM steps in.
Okay.
And if there's still too many targets or RAM misses, then you have CWIS, which is the close-in weapon system, which is a 20 millimeter Gatling gun with a radar strap to it.
Okay.
And that is the final line of defense.
And you had to learn to work on all of these?
Not work on them. We had to learn all the basics about each of them.
Oh, okay. Okay. So just the generalized just mechanics of everything.
Essentially everything that you can Google about those things is what we had to learn, and then a little extra.
Okay. Now I'm sure you guys got to see, like, they showed these things in action, like not there, but like you saw videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this shit's impressive.
Oh yeah, I mean you can find videos of a couple of them on YouTube as well, and it's like they showed us all of them because at the end of our general FC school, we get what's called a wish list, where you can write down like where you want to go, what kind of boat you want to be on, which system you want to work on.
Yeah.
And they might take it into consideration. They might not. It really just depends.
Yeah.
Most of the time, she'll just get needs of the Navy, but you know they're the lucky few.
Yeah.
And so at the end of our general school, I was like, hey, I want to be on this kind of boat in Virginia, and I want to work on CWIS. I want to work on the Gatling gun, the big gun.
Sure.
I got Virginia.
Okay.
I got CWIS.
There you go. You got what you wanted.
I didn't get the boat I wanted to be on though, but that we'll get to that.
Sure.
So after general FC school, then you go to what's called a C school, which is like your technical school. That's where you actually learn to work on the system and how it operates, and you get into all the meat and potatoes of that system you're going to be working on.
Sure.
And for me, that school was in Virginia.
Okay. Now, where was this at?
So for my school, I was on the Damnick, Virginia base.
Okay.
That's where I got to learn about CWIS.
Okay. Well, so you're out of Chicago.
Yep.
Thank God.
After almost a year and a half.
Yeah. Now, are you still on student status at this point?
Yes.
Fuck, dude, that's crazy. That's
I'm
crazy,
still a student,
dude.
And this school that I'm going to in Virginia is another almost 9 months.
Dude, that's crazy. 2 years, student status. That's fucking, that shit's insane.
Yeah. So for AECF, the original job I signed up for, I had to sign a larger contract than what is standard.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. Because your school is so long.
Yeah, so like everyone in the Navy signs an 8-year contract, like total.
Yeah.
But most people only serve 4 active years, and they serve 4 years in the inactive reserve.
Yeah.
I had to sign a 6 and 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because of my schooling.
Yeah.
But it also came with a nice enlistment bonus, and I got after I was done with my A school.
Yeah.
I automatically made E4.
That's cool. Now
those were the 2 incentives.
Yeah, and I mean those are big incentives. Like, not a lot of people think about that. And each job has its own promotion rate, like how fast it moves. But like going from an E3 to an E4 in most, like at least in the Marine Corps, is like a big step, and a lot of times it's full. A lot of times it's like we just don't until somebody up top
goes up,
gets out, or fucking gets promoted or dies or whatever, and it starts moving up, or people start getting out. Like we're starting to get too many NCOs, so they start becoming harsher and stricter on like who gets promoted. So being guaranteed to do it is pretty sick.
Yeah, that was like the biggest incentive. They're like, yeah, you'll get a 10K bonus, but like you get auto E4. And I was like, I really like making more money.
Yeah, I probably would have snatched that up too if I had the option to.
Yeah, because originally there was like, yeah, you get auto E4. And I was like, so you're saying it after I finish my school, I make more money? They're like, yes. And I was like, cool. And they're like, oh, also, apparently they're offering a 10K bonus right now. I was like, oh, sick.
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you're at your school in Virginia now.
Yep.
Now, is still small class? Still?
Yeah, we had, I think, 22 people in there.
Okay, that's not so bad. And now is this specialized in just the CWIS? Is that what it is?
Yeah, CWIS.
It's specifically, that's what you're learning for. Just that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that is the system that I was assigned and what I would be working on for the next 4 years.
Okay. Now, is that operating system with everything, is that like it's only like I'm sure a lot of the makeup is similar, but is it only so like if you're specialized in this, if you were to go somewhere else, would you be like, I kind of understand how this works if you were working on something else? Or is it just like nope, completely different?
It's similar because there's another system called CRAM, which is very similar to CWIS. It's instead of a Gatling gun, it's just a missile launcher, but on the CWIS platform.
Okay.
So the only thing that I would have to really relearn is how the missile side of it works.
Okay,
but the rest of it I would already know.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what was the hardest part about at your CWIS school?
Learning how to what's the word? practically apply all of the things they're teaching us.
Oh yeah.
Because like we would read things like tech manuals and other things, and like, all right, this is how it should work.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're gonna fuck something up on the actual system, and you got to figure out what it is and fix it.
Yeah. Now,
and like thankfully it was broke up into sections, so like it's like, okay, we're doing this section of the system for this period of time, then we're doing this section, then this section, then this section.
Yeah. Now what do you think was the easiest part?
Definitely the gun portion.
Yeah.
Because it was just the nice thing about like that system is that it's very plug and play with a lot of the gun components. So they're all like very large pieces. They really only go in one space, in like one spot. So as long as you know where each like piece of the gun goes, you can take it apart and put it back together like it's nothing.
And I mean that makes sense that it's kind of universal, I guess.
Yeah, like if you took a barrel off of one and a barrel off of another one, swapped them, it would change. It wouldn't do anything to the gun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Whatsoever.
Nice.
And it's the same with like all the electronics and everything inside it. You could take some random circuit card out of one CWiz and take that same card out of another CWiz and swap them, and it wouldn't change. Well, it usually would not change anything. There are very specific cards that it would, because some things have to be changed depending on which boat you're on and where that system is on the boat.
Yeah.
But like your generalized circuit board's like, oh, this one provides power to this, and it goes through this circuit, so then dispense the power.
Okay.
Those cards are the same, no matter which system.
Okay. Now, so does that mean basically, are these, I mean, are these guns on every ship?
Yep, they're on every single boat in the Navy.
So basically you signed yourself up for, you could go anywhere on any boat.
Yep.
that they wanted you to go to.
Yep, and that was kind of what I wanted, because the biggest thing for me was getting stationed in Virginia, because that's where my partner was getting stationed.
Sure.
So we wanted to be able to stay like together and like be able to like have a place together and everything.
Now,
so I was like, if I take CWiz, I have the highest chance of getting placed in Virginia because of how many boats come out of here.
Sure.
And all of them have this weapon.
That makes sense. Now, you both are CWiz? You both work on with that, or did you?
No, my partner has an entirely separate job from me.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if because you guys said you met at the school, so I didn't know if it was.
No, so we met when we were both in holds on the on the old base.
Oh, so the holds isn't at your school. That's where
it's still it's still in the recruit base.
Oh, okay. That's where I kind of got mixed up.
You are living in the recruit base while on holds. Like you've graduated boot camp, but you are still on that base.
Okay. That's kind of where I messed it up at. Is I thought you guys were still. I thought you were at the. Okay, that makes sense now. Now, so you so after you finished schooling, what was your day-to-day, what would your day-to-day look like? I guess is the easiest way to put it.
So during CWiz school, I woke up at around 6:30ish. Got to school by 7. Had school from 7 to 12. And then I was free to do whatever the fuck I wanted.
Doesn't sound that bad.
Oh yeah, no. It was once I got to C school, I was out in town more than I was at school.
Yeah.
And it was even better because they put me in the same barracks as the Marines.
Mm. Shame.
So I didn't have to stand duty.
Yeah. Shame.
I didn't have to stand duty. I didn't have watch. I didn't have nothing. I had school and my free time. That was it.
Yeah. The Marines have watch everywhere they go. It doesn't matter who's base. It doesn't matter who's in charge. They just do watch. They just take over and do it, which sucks.
Yep,
From the Marine side.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple times where like I would have like just gotten home.
Yeah.
I'd gotten back to my barracks room from class. I'd still be in uniform. And I'd hear a knock at my door. I'm like, who the fuck is knocking on my door at 1 in the afternoon?
Yeah.
And I'd open the door, and it'd be some random Marine. And then he would salute me. And I'm like, why are you saluting me?
It's crazy. Yeah.
He's like, you have a bird on your chest.
That's fair.
And I'm like, no, it's not that kind of bird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, what rank are you? And he's like, I'm in E4. I'm like, I'm in the same rank as you, dog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It can be confusing sometimes.
Yeah.
I was at the hospital. I lived in a hospital for like 6 months when I was in the Marine Corps, and I was in a wheelchair and stuff, and it gets confusing when you see people in the Navy who have fucking shiny birds and fucking, or like solid strips and shit like that, and you're like, do I salute? Do I not salute? What the fuck is this? You know, like, and you could just see too where you're just like, that looks on your face, and you just see them like, no, I'm not. This is not me. Don't, you know, or it's like you like in the process of saluting, they're like,
eyes, you're like, no.
Yeah, they're like, nope. Because they only go over basic rank structure in the Marine Corps when it comes to other branches, and it's like they're always like, when in doubt, if it's shiny, you fucking salute. That's it.
Yeah, and that's what ended up happening to me a lot of the time when I was walking like through the Marine barracks. Like, I'd see them start to start eyeing me from like 20 feet away. I'm like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool. And they're like, oh, sick. Okay, hey, man. And I'm like, hey, how's it?
Yeah.
After a couple months of living there, most of the Marines knew who I was, and they're like, oh, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah, you start recognizing people, but
yeah. And then we were having like barbecues and stuff out in the back.
Yeah, it just gets shitty when you don't know. So
yeah.
Well, okay, so after so what's your best school story? What happened in Virginia?
So C School actually had some really fun stuff go on. At the midway-ish point of our schooling, we have midterms, and then we have our final at the very end of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And so for all of our other practicals throughout the school besides those two, you do them in groups. Because it's to be like, because whenever you're working on a boat, you're never going to work on the system alone. You're always going to have people you're working with. So it's helpful like bounce ideas off people, talk through things.
Sure.
If one person's like, I've been staring at this page for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Help. And someone's like, oh, dude, it's that right there. And you're like, oh, fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
But for the midterm and final, you have to do it completely by yourself. You just have your instructor staring at you.
Ugh.
And being like, all right.
Do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
And I was like, man. And some of the instructors have different ways of teaching.
Mm-hmm.
My instructor was a chief, so an E7.
Sure.
And unlike some of the other instructors who would put like random pieces of like random tools and shit on the mount that you had to go do an Easter egg hunt for, which was really stupid. I'm like, who is leaving a screwdriver inside one of the barrels? Nobody. No one's putting a screwdriver in the barrel. That's dumb.
It's probably happened.
Maybe, but like that is such a low possibility. And if you don't find everything, then like it's points off of your exam and stuff.
Sure.
But our chief, the way he did it was he would essentially tear the system apart and be like, hey, you were doing maintenance and now there's a tropical storm coming in. You have 5 minutes to put this mount back together and be in working order.
Fuck.
Go.
Yeah.
And like my class, like as a whole, we all liked that a lot more because to us it made more sense for like practicality.
Absolutely.
Because like that can absolutely happen. You'd be out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and that's like, oh, by the way, a hurricane's coming.
Yeah. Or shit hits a fan.
Fucking, yep. And it's like, but I'm working on my system. That's a damn shame. Put it fucking back together. Hope it works.
Your system needs to be up and running 5 minutes ago. So.
Yep. So that's how he taught us.
That's yeah.
And so it also forced us to know the system a lot more intimately and know everything that was going on.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And so during my midterm, he knew I was a bright student because like I did really well on all my exams, like all my written exams and everything. And I was usually one leading for like our group practical exams. So this asshole decides to do the most just out of the box problem ever for my exam. So CWIS is made up of 3 major, like really major units. You've got the CWIS itself and all of its different smaller cabinets and everything. You have its local control system and its remote control system, which are 2 separate, like really boxy computers that run on Windows fucking 90. And so I put the system back together. Everything's put away. Everything's together. I'm like, all right. I'm gonna turn it on and see what's wrong. And I go to turn on the console, and the console doesn't turn on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, the console doesn't turn on. Maybe the power into the console, like the big ass power cable in the top of the console, is disconnected or like not getting power or something.
Sure.
Grab my multimeter, get up on a ladder, check that, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then is it something else? I go through like 7 different cables, like these big ass like 440 volt cables.
Yeah.
And mind you, these cables are actually live. Like I'm actively handling 440 volts. Just by myself.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It'll kill you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like there are certain parts of the system that like you do not touch unless you have taken a shorting probe to it and stuck it in every single spot. Because it will fry you in an instant, and there's nothing anyone can do about it.
Yeah.
And they hammer that into you very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, I had to, one of my jobs when I was like in Iraq, and then when I was doing like field training, is when they would set up the generators. It was my job that if someone got shocked, I kicked them as hard as I could in the chest to get them to get them off of it. So we had to learn enough about electricity that like a battery could kill you if you know, it could just it could just make your heart beat arrhythmically. So I get
the
it.
The smallest shock can kill you.
For sure. So I absolutely
you can get zapped by like a 9-volt battery and then go to sleep and never wake up.
That's right. You just fucking, your heart just beats differently, and then you're dead, Craig.
Nope, you're dead.
Yeah. So I get it, but I mean that's more than your house runs on. So
yeah. So I'm working with all this stuff, and then I'm looking at the drawings for the system and everything, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I can't talk to my instructor because he's just staring at me.
Sure, he's not there to help.
Yep. So I reach into my cargo pocket and I pull out a rubber duck. This little duck has saved me more than once because I just talked to it.
Sure.
And its blank stare for some reason helps me.
Yeah.
And my instructor is now staring at me like I'm schizophrenic.
Makes sense.
Because I have a small rubber duck on my station. I'm just talking to him.
Yeah.
And I realize, wait, there's a surge protector bar behind the console screen. Mind you, I didn't know that the console screen could be removed.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. So I unscrew everything and I look at my instructor. I'm like, hey, can you help me lift this out so I don't fucking break it? Because this is like an 80-pound hunk of metal
Sure.
that I'm having to lift and hold like 2 inches from like 90 degrees and then bring all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, I got you. I was like, cool. So I pulled all the way out, and then I look in the back, and there it is. There's just a little surge bar with a bunch of plugs stuck into it, and I'm like, there's no way that this is inside a military fucking piece of equipment.
Sure.
And lo and behold, the surge bar is unplugged.
Mm.
And I was like, you're joking.
Mm-hmm.
Plug the surge bar back in. Everything turns on perfectly fine. I get the mount set all the way up to its ready condition.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, cool, turn it off.
That's funny.
And then gives me a small oral exam, and then that's the end of it. That's my exam.
Yeah.
Afterwards, I was like, respectfully, you're a bastard for that.
Yeah.
I was like, I didn't even know there was a surge bar in there. And he was like, yeah, almost no one does.
I mean, he could have wrote you down for cheating. You fucking... The duck telling you what to do, you know?
Yeah, the duck told me the answers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Those are the kind of instructors that, like, those lessons stick with you forever. And it makes you think about, like, what haven't I thought about? Like, what is outside of the box that is probably wrong, that we've gone through all the normal stuff, you know?
Yep. And he did the same bullshit on my final exam too.
Yeah.
But instead, it was that he unplugged a cable and then put it back in the port, but just barely not enough for it to connect.
Yeah. That's what, when you were telling that story, I was like, yeah, what if he just, like, the power cable just wasn't, like, hooked up all the way? You know what I mean? Like, it was just resting there, but it looked like it was in, but it wasn't.
Yep, and that's what I did for my final. Yeah, and so my system was missing a single signal.
Yeah.
But because it was missing that one signal, it then created like 7 problems.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because it's like, hey, I don't have this, so that means I don't have this. That means I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. And I don't have this. And I'm like,
it's chain
how
reaction.
the fuck are there 7 fucking problems?
Yeah.
And I had to work through each one. I'm like, this one, no. This one, no. This one, no. This one, no. This one, no.
Yeah.
This one, yes, but the cable's in. And I was like, wait a minute. And I just barely poked it, and it fell. And I was like, son of a bitch.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah,
because as soon as it like clacked and like hit the side, I turned and I just looked at him, and he just looked at me with the most shit-eating grin, and I was like, you fucker.
Yeah, he got you again. With it.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yep. FCC clack.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, okay, so, well, because you were requested to be stationed, well, in Virginia, so
yep.
How far away from school did you end up getting stationed then?
About an hour and a half.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like I moved from here across the street, and then I got stationed somewhere else, and I went here, and then I was across the street, and then I ended up, for my schooling, being stationed in Virginia again across the street, you know.
Nah, so Damnick is down near Virginia Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been there.
And then I got stationed, the boat that I was stationed to was up in Newport News.
Okay.
Which is north of Norfolk.
Okay. I was No, I wasn't. I don't think I was that close to Norfolk, but I know of it. I was by Richmond, but I don't know.
Yeah, so that's farther north.
Yeah.
So Newport is 2 cities south of that.
Okay.
So about an hour and a half drive south of Richmond is Newport News.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I went to school.
Yeah.
It was in Richmond.
So I knew nothing about the boat I was getting stationed to.
Sure.
It was the John C. Stennis, CVN 74 carrier,
okay.
The largest ship in the Navy.
Oh wow!
Also known as a floating city. When it's at full working ordering capacity, it holds, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 people on board.
Wait.
That's like it is a small city on the water.
Yeah,
And I got those orders, and I showed my chief. He looked at them, looked at me, and said, "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean you're sorry? Why are you sorry?
Yeah.
Are the FCs there like just pieces of shit? Do you like know? What do you know that I don't know?
Yeah.
And he said, he's like, you know how you love working on CWIS? You are probably one of the best students I've told you you're one of the best students I've had in a while. And I was like, yeah. He's like, you will not be putting any of that to use for the next 4 years.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean I won't be using any of that in the next 4 years? You know, the rest of my contract.
Sure.
And he's like, well, they're going into the dry dock for an extended yard period.
Oh boy.
And all the weapon systems will get taken off of the boat to get retrofitted and upgraded.
Mm.
And I was like, so what am I gonna do there? And he's like, that's a very good question.
Yeah. Don't have the answer.
And I was like, ah, sick.
Yeah.
And so then went to my first and last command.
Now, okay, so now that so what do you do when you work on a ship and you're docked? So now basically.
So usually,
oh, go ahead.
if a ship is just like docked on like the pier, like a normal, just like they pulled in because they're not going out right now.
Yeah.
Then you essentially just work a regular 9 to 5, work on your system if you have like your daily maintenances and stuff, and then you go home, and that's like your day, right?
Yeah.
But the boat that I went to was in a special case. I went to the dry dock, so it was up on stilts. It wasn't in the water or anything.
Okay.
Because it was going through RCOH, which is a midlife overhaul. So it had already been on the water for 25 years. And so at that 25-year mark, they go into the yards for years to get upgrades, fixed up, retrofitted with all the newest stuff, everything like that, to then do another 25 years on the sea.
Yeah.
And so I was joining the command right as they pulled in. Like, I think I got there like a couple months after they got put up on stilts.
Damn. Yeah. So what did that look like then? Like, what is your, because like you were saying, they took the weapons off to get, basically upgraded and stuff. So like, what do you do now?
So my very first day on the boat after my 1 week like in dock for the command.
Yeah.
I got on board with my sponsor, who was a more senior FC. And so got up we were walking up on the flight deck, and I was like, oh, what's that giant box, like wooden box sitting there? He's like, oh, that's CWIS. And I was like, oh. As they were hoisting it off the ship.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, there it goes. So when's it coming back? He's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
2020 fill in the blank.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. Sick. So what the fuck am I gonna do instead?
Yeah.
He's like, well, we have this maintenance team that needs bodies. So you're gonna go work in that maintenance team.
Oh, joy.
And I was like, oh, okay. What's it called? He's like, it's called Cableway. And I was like, all right, sure. So I got sent over to that division, and I was like, so what do we do? And they're like, well, the ship has a lot of cables that have just been randomly cut in places, or cables that need to be removed because different systems are getting put in.
Sure.
And whatnot. So we are going to be removing cable and making sure that everything else on the ship is electrically sound.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right.
So you guys became like electrician maintenance for the ship?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, fuck, dude. Okay, so were you when they told you this, were you like happy? Because they were like,
I was pissed.
I was gonna say, were you like happy because like it's like if I feel like it's less specialized work, or were you pissed because you're like, I just fucking wasted 2 years learning all this shit?
Yeah, no, I was pissed. I'm like, so what you're telling me is the 2 years I just spent learning everything I needed to know to work on this super fucking cool gun.
Yeah.
I will never use for the rest of my career. Unless I go to another boat.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep. And I was like, fuck.
Ooh.
I was so pissed.
So now did it ever change? Or did you just, is that what you just did? You just plug in?
So I did that, and I did a couple other things because eventually we had too many bodies in that division and the other maintenance teams, because there's a bunch of maintenance teams that are actively being used on the boat.
Yeah.
While it's in the yards. Once it leaves the yards, all those divisions will disband and everyone will go back to their original departments and divisions.
Okay.
But essentially, everyone, like every major department, is slated to offer so many bodies to each of these maintenance teams.
Makes sense.
So there were too many of us in the cableway team at one point. So then I got given to the mess decks.
Okay.
As it's what they call it, cranking. Essentially, I went and helped the cooks with shit in the mess, in the mess lines for 3 months.
Joy. That shit sucks, dude.
Those hours were awful.
They sure are.
I was on the mess deck by 5:45 every morning. I didn't leave until 17:30 or 1800.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I was there when the cooks got in. I was there when they left.
Yeah.
And then I would go home, sleep, and repeat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't know how you guys did it, but it's like every other weekend too. Chow, you got to eat chow. Like,
so
on the weekends.
It would be the way we had the shifts set up. It was a night shift and a day shift. And so you would work, say if you worked Monday, you would work Monday, Tuesday. You were off Wednesday, Thursday. And then you would work Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And the next week you'd be off Monday, Tuesday, work Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, that's not bad. We rotated I was on the USS Tarawa, and we would rotate between, you would come in morning shift, and if you worked the morning shift, you get off early. But if you came in after, you would work you would work a longer shift. So that way it was you worked one long day and then you had a half day. One long day, half day. And then if you worked the long day, on a Friday, you were off Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday you would come in, so you're basically so you would switch off every other weekend, but you would just work one long day. That's it, but that sucks. Now, okay, so back with this the cable team. Now, what was that? You guys just making sure cables are are you running lines through the ship, or what is
Yeah, we were removing lines and running lines, as well as if there were how in your house you have your plugs in the walls.
Sure.
We had to replace those or fix them, as well as a bunch of other different kinds of electrical receptacles and a bunch of other stuff. Essentially, if it had a cable going into it or touching it, that was us.
Ugh. That sounds fucking boring as fuck. That sounds like some tedious ass work too.
Yeah, it was a lot of just manual labor. Because to take the cables out, you had to pull them all the way out by hand.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're really easy because they're like little Ethernet cables that you can just really easily pull through.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other times where it's cables like as thick as your arm, and they're in a metal like armored casing
Mm-hmm.
that is frayed to shit. So it's just a bunch of tiny, small metal slivers that stab into your hand while you're
Fuck
pulling this
that.
cable out, and it's heavy as hell by the end of it.
Now, so
Like, I think
go ahead.
there was one like large power cable we pulled that was like that, and I was carrying around like maybe 4 foot sections of it, and that weighed like 40 pounds.
Jeez, that was a fucking crackhead dream right there, dude.
Yeah, no,
That's what you should have done. Just hire some crackheads, and they had that shit out of there. They had it out of there in no time.
yeah. So after after my 3 months in the mess decks, I went back to the cableway team.
Yeah.
And then there were still too many people, so then they sent me to another team, which was the head team. So then I became a plumber for a year and a half.
Oh fuck, dude. That's
I was
crazy.
working with our HTs and our MRs, so machine repairmen and hull technicians. So essentially just the plumbers of the ship.
Yo, I'm trying to remodel my kitchen and bathroom. You want a job?
Shit, I mean, I definitely could.
It sounds like that's exactly what you did on the ship there.
Yeah, no, like literally, I was replacing toilets, sinks,
shit.
hand dryers.
Yeah, just whatever.
Bathroom stall doors.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was doing all that.
And okay, so, and I'm sure there's like, I mean, on every floor, I'm assuming it's like, I don't know, like there's bathrooms aren't that far apart from each other.
You'd be surprised. There are some dead zones inside that boat.
Yeah, I don't know. I never.
And once you get lower and lower, there's less and less bathroom.
Yeah, I didn't explore around too much. And I got lucky because they were like, you know what? We need bodies in Iraq, so we're taking you off the Tarawa to send you to Iraq. So,
yeah, the only opportunity I ever got was, or that I should say I was volunteered for, was they're like, hey, it was one of the other people in my division. They're like, she's gonna go to Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain. Okay.
But if she doesn't get all of her basic quals done by this time, you have to go instead.
Oh, nice.
And this was during the time when my partner was out on a deployment, out in the middle of the ocean. So I was the only one at home to take care of our pets and like make sure the house was, like everything on the home side was still being taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I really can't go to Bahrain right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, this girl needs to be basic qualified before she can go. Otherwise, you have to go.
Sure.
I was like, so how long do I have? They're like, about a month and a half. And I was like, cool, she'll be qualified in about 2 weeks.
You're like, you're going to be qualified one way or another.
Yeah, I burned a couple favors over that week and a half.
Yeah. That's
and
great.
Then she was basically qualified. And I was like, all right, have fun in Bahrain for 8 months.
Yeah. That's not so bad. Bahrain's not so bad. No, I mean, not now. I mean, I don't know when they were there, but okay, so your plumbing, did you switch to anything else?
So after my time doing plumber's work, then I went back to cableway again. And by that point, I was at the end of my contract. I was like, I think I had like 3 months left at that point by the time I got back.
Yeah.
And so then I started like the very beginnings of the process of me getting out and like getting the like separations classes done and all that shit.
Sure. Now, Now, dude, that sucks, man. He's all this time and you just fucking you became an electrician, a basic electrician, a fucking a mess hall helper, and a fucking plumber.
Yep.
That sucks, dude. That sucks.
That's okay. When we get towards the very end of this all, it only gets better.
Yeah. Now, and so, but you guys aren't doing like, I mean, you're not. You're basically your 9 to 5 is inside a ship, inside the ship,
yes.
Right? That's. I bet you could fucking sleepwalk in that thing and know where everything's at.
Especially because with cableway, I literally have been on almost, except for like the spaces that you can only get into if you have a specific clearance.
Sure.
Besides those very few spaces,
mm-hmm.
I had been inside almost every single room and space inside that boat.
Yeah.
Like I even got to walk into the CO's bedroom.
Oh wow. So if there's
because he wasn't using it.
So if anybody out there is listening to this in the future and you're on ship and everything, there's a dick on the wall. You know,
it wasn't me.
Yeah,
it was not me. Yeah. It was my buddy. He absolutely did
buddy.
That.
I'm sure
with a piece of soapstone.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff on the walls everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, you can't help yourself sometimes.
That's okay. So the shipyard environment.
Yeah.
Is fucking disgusting.
I bet.
Because one, there's no AC.
Ugh.
For my first 2 years on board, there was no AC on the boat.
No, thank you.
We had a little barge next to the boat that had AC. That was the only place that you could find any AC.
Yeah.
And then finally, they got like the very ass end of the ship to have some AC.
Yeah.
But the rest of the boat, still nothing.
Ugh.
So for the last year and a half of my contract, we had AC in the back ass end of the boat, and that was it. And then 4 rooms on the 4th deck had AC just because there was a bunch of we had a computer complex where everyone could do paperwork and shit.
Yeah.
And that had AC just because of how many computers were in there.
I mean, that makes sense.
Those were the only places with AC. And a normal day for me, I would wake up at 4:45 in the morning, leave my house by 5:15, 5:30.
Yeah.
Get to work around 6:15. And then my day would end around 15.
Yeah.
So I got into the boat before the sun rose, and it was during the winter, it was almost setting by the time I got out.
That's crazy.
I saw very little sunlight in the winter days.
Yeah. Those kind of jobs suck. That's how my Marine Corps career was.
Yeah.
Even before the sun came up, and then I'd be out and the sun would be going down.
Yep.
Unless it was the summertime, and I'd be like, "Oh, the sun," and I'd get home and I'd be like, "It's gone. Sun's gone."
Yep. Yeah. By the time during the summer, by the time I got home, the sun would going down. I'm like, "Oh, wow."
Well,
great.
Well, fuck, I'm glad I'm a ginger because we don't need a lot of sun. So.
Yeah.
She.
Yeah. There are definitely some fun times that I had with while at that command.
Yeah.
But there's also just so much bullshit. And so because it's a civilian-owned shipyard that the military is contracted out.
Oh, it's not even worse.
It's not just service members, also civilian contractors working on the boat.
Yeah.
And so while it's in the docks, all of the restrooms are not usable. So they have to bring on porta potties and these there's these Connex boxes that have been converted into bathrooms.
It's the worst.
So we had 2 bathrooms on the flight deck, 2 in the hangar bay, and I think 2 back aft, far on the back end.
Yeah.
That was it. Those were the bathrooms.
Yeah. And
so if you were on the opposite end of the ship, like if you were all the way forward,
yeah,
you had to walk all the way to the midship and then go to the flight deck or the hangar bay, whichever was hopefully closer.
Yeah.
And then use the bathroom.
And for people who don't understand about these connect boxes with, you know, with the bathrooms in there, is like that shit gets hot. And and like people aren't just peeing in those things. You know, people are taking a dump in there and they sit there for they get cleaned probably. I mean, I don't know how everything's different. It's usually once a week. If you have
ours got cleaned twice.
Yeah, if you have like a more upper scale, more like important, they might get cleaned twice a week. But still, they're still sitting there.
Ours get cleaned like twice a week.
They're still sitting there 3 or 4 days with piss and shit in it, and it's
not only that,
it's hot.
Not only that, it's hot in there, right? Like it's a sweat box.
Yeah,
and people would still sit in there on their phones on the toilet.
It was crazy. And
I'm like, bro, I gotta shit.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out.
We had a guy we were in Yuma, Arizona doing workups for Afghanistan. And we had this little shitbag who just disappeared. He always disappeared. He just, anytime there was any work, he just disappeared. And I remember I had to go drop a deuce, and I've already done 2 tours in Iraq. So like going into Port John when it's 100+ degrees outside, like it's a mental state that you have to prepare yourself for, because it literally like
it's so bad.
It sucks, and then it stinks, and you're like, once you get in that mindset, you're like, okay, fine. So like I'm in there, and you know I'm doing my thing, and I'm getting ready to wipe my ass, and I hear like snoring, and I'm like I swear to God,
ain't no way.
I fucking I finish, I do my thing, and like I'm outside, and I like knock on the thing, and I hear somebody like wake up, and I'm fucking fuming now. And I don't want to be here, like I'm getting ready to get out the Marine Corps, and they made me come here. And so like I bang on it, and he pops out, and I'm like, yo, dude, I'm like, Staff Sergeant's looking for you. He's been looking for you for like over an hour. And when he gets done with you, come find me. And this dude's drenched. He's drenched in sweat. And I'm like, you need to hydrate too. I'm like, dude, I don't know how long you've been sleeping in there. And he's like, oh, I wasn't sleeping. I was like, I heard you snoring. I said, look, you could be a piece of shit, but don't lie to me. Like, don't lie to me. It will be worse if you lie to me. Like, I already caught you, Be a man. Don't lie, but don't lie to me. I hate people who lie to my face. I would rather have you be like, look, I was a piece of shit. I didn't want to do work for whatever.
I'm gonna be real, I didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
so
don't lie to me.
I ducked in here.
I will have more respect for you, and things won't be as bad as if you just say, you know what? I fucked up. I just needed a break, and I fucking pass out. But don't lie to me. Needless to say, we ended up. Not to
mention, he probably stank. He'd been sitting in that for God knows how long.
We all stank. I mean, we're in a field op for 30 days, and it didn't get under 100 degrees while we were there. Even at nighttime, we had to pull our cots outside because we couldn't sleep inside. We had no AC. It was 100 degrees all day. And so at nighttime, sun went down. It was still 100 degrees, and needless to say, my staff sergeant was like, you better get out of my face. And he was like, yo, come here, insert name and rank. And I was like, yes, staff sergeant. And he was like, he needs to learn a lesson, I said, I got you, staff sergeant. So we ended up flipping rocks. I was like, I don't like how any of these rocks look. Turn them over. All of them in front of me. All of these right here. You turn them over. So, and I stood there and watched, so that way it wasn't hazing. And then we were doing inventory, and we were cleaning out the FFSU, which is the food, like the food service field unit or whatever. I don't know what it was. And we were doing inventory, and like that's one of the places where you have ice. And so I was like, all right, I need you to inventory this ice. And I picked up the fucking bucket that had ice in it and I threw it outside. And I said, I need to know how many ice cubes are there for inventory. So he's counting ice cubes as they're melting, like, but I don't know. It's just Porta Johns, like they just stink. And
dude, it's so bad.
It's horrible, especially when it's hot outside and they're just confined in spaces. So
it's okay. It gets worse. So we only had these Connex boxes and like one working bathroom back aft.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people decided, you know what? Those bathrooms are too far.
Yeah.
And they would look around and be like, oh, look, there's this random space in the middle of fucking nowhere in the boat.
Oh, no.
And no one's around. And they just piss in a corner. And then shut the door.
That's disgusting.
Or they'd shit in a bucket and leave it somewhere. Or piss in a bottle and leave it somewhere. And being in cableway, I had to go to the most random spaces ever because the cables would just cut through the room real quick and then cut back out until you get to where they need to go, right?
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, there's this random space I have to get into. Open the door and just the smell, the smell of God knows how old stale piss would just hit me like a wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go in here.
Yes.
I don't want to go in here, but I have to.
That's disgusting.
Like, like the yellow mop buckets that everyone in the military uses?
Sure.
I found one of those filled to the brim with piss.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
And I was like, why? Why? What's even worse is that where I found it, it was like maybe a 2-minute walk to the bathroom.
Yeah, lazy's lazy, And
I was like, you're joking.
Yeah.
It was foul. Yeah, every time that happened, I was just like, oh God.
Yeah, people are wild for no reasons. Well, I mean, lazy will take to a whole new level of
yeah.
When it comes to stuff like that.
I was astounded by how disgusting people can be.
I mean, there's Iraq's a wild place, but there'd be shit and piss everywhere, kind of got, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's gross. And especially when there's like hundreds of people around and it's like, I don't know. People are animals sometimes. I don't get it.
Yeah. And what's even worse is like, there's no circulation or like anything. So the air just sits in that room.
Stagnant. Yep. Stagnant shit.
Stagnant
shit and piss. And it's
yep.
Stale. The air stale. But
anyways, it's awful.
That's disgusting. But it's something that like, I feel like a lot of people, more people deal with it than you actually think have to deal with it while they're in the military.
Yeah.
Dealing with stinky piss and shit.
Yep. Oh.
So, okay, so you went from you're doing plumbing back to the cable management. And you said something happened after you went back to the cable management?
Yeah, so I've got so many random wild stories that have happened on that boat.
Sure.
But once I got back to that division, the chief that was in charge of that division at the time did not like me whatsoever. And so when it came time for me to like start doing all of like my stuff, not one help. Nobody was of any help. I had to do all of it on my own.
Oh yeah, we were talking about that the other day. You doing your checkout and stuff?
Yep, had to do all of it on my own.
Yeah, dude. This shit's wild sometimes.
Yeah. But like there's so many just wild stories. 2 people died on my boat.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Okay. Well, how? How'd that happen?
There was a civilian contractor that died. He had slipped and fallen down a stairwell.
On piss.
Who's to say?
Yeah. Sorry,
But Slip fell, hit his head and fell unconscious for the night crew.
Ew. Yeah.
And the space he was in was like over 100 degrees.
Oh.
And he ended up passing.
Well, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. And so like the next day, we got training about like working in pairs and like heat stress management and shit like that. And we're like, where are we coming from?
Yeah.
Why are we getting this training all of a sudden? And then we all found out and we're like, oh shit, that's why.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it sucks. It sucks. The guy had to be a safety brief and die.
Yeah,
that sucks.
But like sometimes, just accidents happen.
Nothing you can do about it, And plus, like, I don't know. Like, people are always like, oh, like, and I hear it a lot from, like vets. But even when I was in the military, I didn't sign up for it's like you did. You might not sign up. You signed a blank check to be like the military wants you to do whatever the fuck they want you to do. So when you're like, oh, I didn't sign up, yes, you did. And civilians as contractors, when you work on a military base, you didn't sign up to fight in a war. Would you sign up to do some shit, whatever the military wanted you to do? And you were like, I agree to this paycheck. They don't have as much to be like, hey, we're going to send you to go do some dumb shit, but you did sign up to do whatever it is that they wanted you to do.
Like you were still like, especially for like this place, like it is an industrial environment.
Yeah. Yep.
There's cranes there's cranes swinging around and shit day in and day out.
Yeah. It's part of the job, so you signed up to potentially die, you'd slip and fall or fucking get something dropped on you or fucking whatever, it just sucks that it's always this could happen. Worst case scenario, this happens. And it just sucks when worst case scenario happens.
Yep. And then one of my buddies ended up dying in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah. Especially like in Virginia, like it was the worst thing because like all of us told him, we're like, hey man, don't get a fucking bike in Virginia. No one knows how to drive out here.
Yeah.
He had said he really wanted that bike.
Yeah, it always sucks. Excuse me. That usually happens. That is more. I don't know why all of a sudden I have hiccups. That happens to be frequent. Of how when people pass, especially in the military, is fucking motorcycles. You get people who you live such a high adrenaline lifestyle that you want to keep it up no matter how you can, and motorcycles are the easiest way to do it. But it sucks.
Yeah, because like at first, like we didn't know what was going on because it happened in the middle of the night. And then all of a sudden, like, because this is when I was still with the HTs being a plumber.
Yeah.
But everyone from from my original department got called into like one room.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, why am I getting called down here? Am I getting like am I getting an award for something or some shit?
I like how that was.
And then I started seeing friends from other department, like that got sent to other departments, also showing up, and I was like, why is everyone here?
Yeah.
Why is every single person here? And I started talking to like some of my buddies, and I was like, y'all know why we're here? And they're like, no, we just got told to come down here. And I was like, why are those people here? They're not even working on the boat right now. Why are they on the boat?
Yeah.
Because like we had warehouses and stuff where people were working too. And like even the guys that were working at the warehouses were there. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. So then we started looking at like recent news stories.
Yeah.
And we saw it and we're like, please tell me that's not who I think it is.
Sure. The one person who's not in here that should be in here.
Yeah, like because like we read the story and we're like, that's the same make and model.
Yeah.
And then we started looking like around for him and shit, and we didn't see him. We're like, please tell me that's not him.
Yeah.
And then we got told the news, and we're like, fuck. Like, I will say that was one of the few times that like our leadership was like very good to us, because like they waited till everyone was there, offered as much support as they could, and then like all of us went home that day. Like they had already cleared it with the higher ups of every single department.
Yeah,
they're like, all of you go home.
Yeah, that's how you know that you have a good chain of command, is when that happens.
Yeah, like our highest, the highest part of our chain of command, I don't ever have any I never had any complaints about.
Yeah,
like when anything got to their level, it was they were really good about it.
Yeah. And another thing I could tell you had a good chain of command is when you were like, why'd they all bring me here? Why am I all here? Am I getting an award? My ass would have been like, yo, am I in trouble? What the fuck did I do? I don't
Well, see, the only reason I wasn't like, why am I in trouble? I was like, I haven't done anything wrong today.
Yeah, but I mean,
I was like, I've been a good noodle recently, so it can't be that. Plus, there would be way less people here if it was because I was a bad noodle.
Sure. Yeah. No, I would have been like,
it'd
dude,
be
I
one
haven't
thing
done
if
anything
I got called
wrong.
into an office. If I got called to someone's office, I'd be like, fuck, what did they find out?
Yeah. They had a, like, it
was a very public space, or not really public, but it was a very large space, and everyone was filtering in with me.
Yeah, I'd have been like, fuck, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Why am I here?
That's how I felt anytime any of my chain of command called me to the office, their office.
Like they're gonna NJP all of us.
Yeah, because like there'd be times I'd be sitting in our shop and like they'd call the phone in the shop and they'd be like, "Hey, come to the office." I'm like, "Man, fuck, what did I do this time?"
Yeah.
And then they'd just be like, "Hey, fill the water cooler," and I'm like, "Really?"
Yeah. You called me down for this shit. All right. The only time, well, not the only time, but the funniest story I have with that is I worked in the chow hall, and there was this lady who worked in the chow hall, and everybody went out for her birthday. She was a civilian worker, and so everybody went out, and we went out in San Diego and partied together and stuff like that. And then like I'm always the person where at the end of the night, or like halfway through the night, I look around and I'm like, who's driving? And if I'm like looking around and everybody's fucked up, I'm like, I'm driving. So I was like,
all right, time to get a couple waters in me. Yep. I'm driving.
Yep, I'm gonna get some food, get some water. So that's what happened that night. And I remember dropping everybody off, and then it came down to like there were 3 of us left. There was a lady whose birthday it was, and one of my buddies, and everybody parked like at different barracks. Like we picked up a bunch of people from different spots, and I had a house. I had my own place, and so like I dropped him off, and I dropped her off. And, she was, had her own car at the barracks and stuff like that. And she was like, I don't think I can drive home. And I was like, like, I'm not fixing to leave base, like, and anyways, one thing led to another. She came over to my house, whatever, And, so she ended up like, turns out she had family who, of course were in the Marine Corps, and turns out her father worked in the same company that I was in. He was in my chain of command, and I remember like they were like, "Oh, you hooked up with such and such," and I was like, so whatever, And they're like, "Do you know who her dad is?" And I was like, "No,
no, should I?"
And I was like, "Who is it?" And they were like, they told me, and I was like, "Shut the fuck up, dude!" And it's lunch. Like I didn't work the next day. I worked the day after, and they, like I'm in the back, and I worked a lot, and so like I got called to do things often in the chow hall, and I'm sitting there, and my master sergeant calls me out there, and then he was like, I walked out there.
No, and, not the master sergeant.
Yeah, me and Master Sergeant Anderson were super tight, and he called me out there, and he's like, come here. And I look, and I was like, yes, Master. And I like look over, and I was like, oh shit. And he was like, do you know who this is? And I was like, Master, I was like, respectfully, Master, and I don't, I apologize. And he was like, oh, this is, Master, whatever, such and such. and I'm fucking sweating. The heart is beating. That's her dad, and I'm just like,
oh.
And my face is like bright red and everything, and he's like, he looks at me and he's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, yes, my son, I am." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Do you know why I'm here?" And I'm like,
no, couldn't tell you.
I was like, "I don't know, Master." And he was like, "I got this." And my Master Anderson was like, he like set a plate up on there, and he was like, "Do you see this burger?" And I was like, "I sure do, Master." And he was like, "Look at the inside of this burger." And I was like, "Yes, Master." And he's like, "That shit's pink as fuck." He's like, "Are we trying to kill him?" And I was like, in this moment, like, and I was like, "Master," I was like, "I apologize," because I was like in charge of the watch, and so I threw it away and I said, "Master, you know what? I will personally make you a burger and be the best burger you ever had in this motherfucker." So I kicked the guy out the grill and I made this dude a burger, and I was like, my career is riding on this burger right now.
This best goddamn burger of my career.
Sure was. I did, and he even came up and he shook my hand afterwards. I'm like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Yo, if you only knew, dude. If you only knew." And it's too late now. I don't. He's not gonna recognize me. He's probably not even gonna watch.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it was. One of my buddies ran into a similar situation with one of our Master Chiefs.
Yeah.
And our Master Chief found out.
Yeah.
Granted, his daughter did not have the same last name as him.
Yeah.
Right? I think her last name was something, and his last name was I think like Smith or something like some really
Generic.
basic name, some really generic name, like that everybody has.
Yeah.
And so he ended up hooking up with this girl through Tinder, and everything. And he
Tinder.
was like, she's really nice. I might keep talking to her. And we're like, oh, good job, man. Like, we're proud of you. Like, happy for you. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Master Chief walks into our shop, and we're all like, oh, "Good morning, Master Chief. How are you?"
Sure.
And he's like, "I could be better." And we're like, "Fuck, who did what?" Mind you, this is on a Monday.
Shit.
At like 10 a.m. And we're like, we haven't even started to like work yet.
Sure.
Who fucked up already?
Yeah, who fucked up over the weekend?
Yeah, we're like, who fucked up over the weekend? Like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, no one said anything. Usually the guys at least tell me so that I know whenever our higher ups are coming down towards them, and I can be like, "Oh,"
like deflect. Yeah.
I heard nothing, and I was like, okay, whatever it is, it can't be that bad, unless someone is just not telling me shit, and then I'm about to get fucked.
Yeah.
And he looks at our buddy, and he's like, "Do you know why I'm here?" And he's like, "No, Master Chief, I do not." And he's like, "Do you know this woman?" And he was like, "Yes." He's like, "Did you spend the night with this woman?" "Yes." How do you know that? And he's like, "That's my daughter." And we're like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, dude.
And he was like, "Master Chief, I swear to you, I did not know.
Sure.
I'm so sorry." And he was like, "I'll believe you this time."
This time.
However, he's like, "However, don't speak to her ever again." And he's like, "Yes, Master Chief."
Crazy. Otto went and talked to her again. I'd have been like, "Yo."
He absolutely did.
Yeah, smart man.
That very night.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm trying to put a ring on it."
Yeah, I was like, like after Master Chief left, I turned to him and I was like, "There's no way you found the one woman in Virginia related to him."
Yeah. Well, it's every.
I was like, "What are the odds of that?" He's like, "Bro, they didn't have the same last name. How was I supposed to know?"
Mm-hmm. Odds are like every time I talk to anyone, any female anywhere, I'm like, "You're probably related to somebody." Yeah, there's a reason why you're here. Like, you don't. Not a lot of people just move to right outside a military base just because,
That's the worst part. She lived like 2 hours away.
Yeah. Yeah, he moved away just so he was like, oh, I don't have to worry about my family, you know?
Yeah, he's like, I don't have to worry. He's like, I don't have to be near any military. I don't got to worry about fucking sailors being out here. Joke's on him.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then, like, also working in an industrial environment, one of my buddies almost died twice in one day.
Shit.
Because he was on the hangar bay level.
Yeah.
Just standing out on one of, like, the little, like, areas, like, kind of, like, poke off the side of the ship. Just chilling. Checking a couple messages because he was trying to get service.
Sure.
And a small sledgehammer fell from the flight deck and landed, like, 2 feet to the right of him.
Fuck, dude.
And it slammed down, and he was like, what the fuck?
He's on that.
Told us about it, and we were like, bro, you almost died.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'm well aware. And, like, he was super shaken about it, so, like, he ended up going home. Like, I had talked to our training command. I was like, hey, like, this happened. Can he go home? They're like, yeah, no, like, that's fair.
Yeah.
So then on his way home, he took a shuttle back to his barracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he took one of the Navy shuttles back to his barracks.
Yeah.
That shuttle then proceeded to run him over.
Oh shit, dude.
Thankfully, he was okay because it was like the shuttle was only going like 2 or 3 miles an hour.
Fuck.
Like, it was super slow. Just kind of knocked him over and like.
Sure.
But bro almost died twice in the span of like 4 hours.
Dude, that's some Final Destination shit.
Yeah, he called me and my buddy, and we were like, bro, go inside, turn everything off.
Yes.
And just lay in bed.
Sit in the dark.
Don't move.
Yeah.
We're like, don't move, don't do nothing. Just stay there until tomorrow.
Crazy.
Let this day blow over.
Yeah. That's crazy. Now, what so your entire time what do you think what was like your biggest highlight? Like, you're like, this was my favorite memory of said time.
Favorite memories. I think probably one of my favorite memories was I was getting qualified to wear a harness so they could work on stuff on like the off the side of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so to train for that, we had to climb the mast.
That's sick.
So I got to climb to the top of the mast.
Yeah.
And that mast is, I don't even know how high off the ground.
Yeah.
It was high enough that I could see then like over the horizon the next like city over. That's across the water.
That's sick.
And I was like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, there was that, and then also I got to, so the boat originally when I got there was up on stilts being worked on, and then they ended up taking it off the stilts and moved it like 100, 200 feet to the dock so that was actually in the water, but it was still docked in the shipyard.
Yeah.
And I was on the boat when they did that.
That's pretty cool.
So I got to see the dry dock flood.
Yeah.
And like the boat got towed over to the next area.
That's pretty cool. That's excuse me, sorry. That's like have you ever seen how they move or they go from the boats in like the Panama Canal?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those?
It was very much like that.
Yeah, that's what I was envisioning. It's kind of like they flood it, move it to a little area, and then flood it again, and then move it over and flood it, and just to kind of like
it was a really
move
cool
it.
Experience.
Yeah, inch it across. But that's really cool, and to see it firsthand like that, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and then another fun thing that I got to do was I got to be part of a security exercise that they ran on the boat.
Oh, that's cool.
And so everyone like a couple days prior, got briefed that whenever they went into like the training environment for it,
Yeah.
that if someone, if whoever was playing the part of the active shooter
Mm-hmm.
ended up walking into your space and shooting you, you
Mm-hmm.
had to just wait. You had to lay down or like sit down somewhere
Sure.
and just wait.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he fucking killed you. So it's so they get accurate numbers.
Yeah.
And so I got to be one of the active shooters.
Oh, nice.
And it was actually a lot of fun because like I had to like, because like they gave us like specific parameters that we had to like follow.
Yeah.
But as far as like getting our prop firearms like onto the boat and everything,
Mm-hmm.
that was left up to us how we were gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, we need variety. So like, security might catch some of you, but they won't catch all of you probably.
Yeah.
If they do catch all of you, then congrats security. You're really fucking good at your job.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Congrats to the MAs. They're really good.
Yeah.
And so what I had ended up doing, because I'm a jackass, is that the same day that they gave it to us,
Mm-hmm.
or the day after they gave us our prop firearms,
Yeah.
I came back to the boat in the middle of the fucking night when like no one's like, we still have like security 24/7 like on the boat,
Sure.
but it's the middle of the night. People are dog shit tired.
Yeah.
Dude's been on watch already for like 6 hours. He wants to
Yeah.
fucking leave.
Yeah.
And I just came on with my sea bag, like I was coming from one of the other buildings for duty.
Yeah.
And so I just walked on board, saluted the quarterdeck, and walked off.
Yeah.
And like walked onto the boat with it just in the bottom of my sea bag. And security stopped me and they're like, "Hey, can you open your sea bag real quick?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I just opened it and they saw a bunch of stuff. They're like, "Okay, cool. You're good." And I was like, "All right, cool. Thanks, guys."
Okay.
Left, went to my shop, stashed it.
Crazy, dude.
And then a couple days later, they had a group chat with all the guys who they had picked for this exercise.
Yeah.
Just text all of us. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
If they text us like 5 a.m, they're like, if you haven't brought it on board, if you haven't already brought it on board or had it taken from you, you have to bring it today. Those of you that have somehow gotten it on board already, you're good to go. If you got it taken away, oh well.
Yeah.
And I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
They set the training team environment, and 2 guys got caught on the quarterdeck, like coming on.
Yeah.
And once they called that away, that's when I started doing shit already on the boat.
That's crazy.
Yep. I got through like 10 rooms before someone was able to fucking call it away.
That's nuts, dude.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a bad day for security.
Yeah. I bet you some motherfuckers got fucking, we're gonna start from square one.
Yeah, because like afterwards they did a whole debrief and they asked all of us that had either gotten weapons on board.
Yeah.
As well as the ones that got caught on the quarterdeck. They like asked all of us give our how we planned it out, our mindsets and everything.
Yeah.
So they could learn from it.
Yeah.
And they're like, "How the fuck did you get yours on board? Because you're the one of like 2 people that got it on board." And I told them how, and they're like, "You're joking." And I was like, "No, I came to the boat at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
and had it stashed in a towel under a blanket in a sea bag."
Yeah. That's crazy.
And they're like, "And security checked your bag." I'm like, "Yep." And they did not find it. Why didn't they find it? Because they didn't have me empty the bag.
Yeah.
They just had me push things to the side so they could see the bottom.
Yeah. They just did a visual inspection.
Yep.
Dang it. That sounds like it'd be a good time though. For sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But I definitely got some people fucked up that day.
Yeah. I did a activity like that with I can't remember what ship it was, but they were doing their long range they were doing their like long range like capabilities from the ship. Yeah. And so I basically got to play as like little Afghan villager type thing where they were coming in to try and like give us humanitarian aid and stuff like that, and they took us back to the ship. And so they just told us to like you know, like don't be helpful, but be helpful. And because some of us were like supposed to be like trying to infiltrate type of like the ship, just see what how far we could push it. And I remember when they were sitting down interviewing me and stuff like that and getting my name and all that type of stuff and like what my role is in the village and stuff like that. I did I told them I was the chief of the village, and they printed out like little badges and stuff like that, and mine said chief, and I was like, oh fuck, like now like people were coming up and talking to me and like asking me questions about it, and I was like, I don't know any of this. Like they just said fuck with people. Like if I would have known that, I would have just, you know, like I wouldn't have said some shit, you know. But that shit, it was actually pretty fun. I didn't really like, I don't know. We got about like, we were on there for like 5 or 6 hours on the ship.
Yeah.
But it was pretty fun.
The first ever active shooter training I participated in, I got shot with a paint bullet.
Yeah.
That shit hurt.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. That's what we did in infantry school with the QRF and stuff like that. Is they would get, because one side would like, because you rotated, and one side would do the QRF and then like the little base, and then the other side would be like, you know, trying to take over your little fob. And yeah, those motherfuckers hurt.
Yeah, they had us in like an unused office building, and they handed me a paint gun. They're like, cool, take as many of them out as you can.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's my only job. And they're like, yep, just kill as many people as you can.
Yeah.
And I was like, is there anything I can't do? Like, you can't throw shit at people.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I can't throw it at them.
Yeah.
They're like, yes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that shit was fun too when we did that exercise, because we had these infantry guys there who thought they were, you know, they're infantry guys, so they think they're like hot shit.
Yeah, they think they're hot shit. Sure. Yeah.
Nah, we were sitting there throwing a football around, and some dude was trying to be like hot shit about, you know, like stop horsing around type thing, you know, like they're trying to do their duty, you know, they're trying to get a head count and blah 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 blah. And, you know, took the football, and I took it back, and he started talking shit about like, you know, like, what do you insert racist comment like know about football and stuff like that and blah blah blah. And so we basically were doing like well, let's just do a drill, you know what I mean? Like, if you're such a tough guy, you get the ball and try to run past me. I played a lot of football in my life. I played football for the Marine Corps, and I got invited to go to the Nike Gridiron football camp for playing for football. I was already in boot camp, so that's why I ended up playing football in the Marine Corps. Is because I got the letter, and I was in boot camp, and I was like, sir, what is this recruit supposed to do? And he said, you do the only thing you can do, son, and play football for Marine Corps. So I did. But anyway, so this dude thought he was hot shit, and we had our flak jackets on and our Kevlars, and he tries to like bowl me over. And like I said, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'4". I was like 220, just solid. And he ran at me, and I just fucking stuffed him. And
you get real low, and then suddenly they have nothing to stand on.
Yeah. And it just like, it was like, do you ever see those videos of like when the parents try to stop their kids who are football players? Like, you ever see those? Yeah. And they put on shoulder pads and stuff, and like the like the parents run and they run into their kid and they just like stop, like all momentum stops. It was just kind of like that, and it was good times. But
nah, even better. Have you seen the joke video about the fake Make-A-Wish kid?
no, I have
Oh
not.
my god. So on YouTube, there's a video of like it's absolutely fake, but it's uh like a Make-A-Wish kid doing like a
Sure.
football play,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then kids running, and all of a sudden a dude just comes by and just cracks him.
Yeah.
Proceeds to then teabag him and walk off, and everyone's like, "What the fuck, bro?"
Yeah.
Oh god, it's so good.
Yeah. It's good times. But
Yeah, during that first active shooter drill, I got 3 people, and then I got shot by 2 people at the same time, and I was like, "Ow,
yeah.
that shit hurt."
Yeah. Those things we used to so if you take the when they give you the blanks,
Yeah,
we used to take the like the they put the you have to put like this thing on your barrel that basically pressurizes it, so when you shoot it, it just kind of like simulates it, but it doesn't shoot anything.
yeah.
If you put your cleaning rod if you take that safety piece off and you put your cleaning rod in it, you basically have a harpoon.
It's a spear gun.
Yeah, a spear gun. And I remember some of us had blanks and some of us had the paints, the paint rounds. And so we just kind of got bored and we just started fucking shooting at whatever. We didn't shoot at anybody, but we shot at like vehicles, we shot at like trees, equipment. And there was just like
sometimes you're just bored.
Say there's nothing worse than bored Marines. And doing operations like that, I would absolutely agree. It was a lot of fun.
I mean,
though.
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing worse than bored lower enlisted.
Yeah. Now to think about it, I got in more trouble lower enlisted because there was nothing to do.
Yep.
And we used to
finish what you've been told to do, and then suddenly you're bored.
And you're just sitting in the middle of nowhere most times, and like we made MRE bombs where you take the so in the MREs, for those you don't know, they have like heating packets, and if you cut it open and you dump it in like a bottle, like a 2 liter or a whatever, and you fill it, you put like rocks in it, and then you put water in it and you screw the cap on and throw it. Well, what happens is the water and that mixture, it creates heat because that's how it heats up the stuff. But if you put the cap on, it's pressurized. And basically what happens after that pressure builds up, it just explodes. And then everything in it becomes a bomb. It just shrapnel goes everywhere. And needless to say, I made...
It's like a dry ice bomb.
Yeah, I made quite a few of those in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times. But I was bored. I was an E2. We have shit to do. We're in the middle of nowhere, getting ready to go to Iraq. And, we're just bored. Just bored. So needless to say is don't leave junior Marines unattended. Shit's gonna blow up.
Yeah, even junior sailors, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, just junior enlisted, period.
Yeah, it gets real bad. There are definitely times on the boat where me and some of my guys we get done with our work and we're like, damn, there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly someone's duct taped to the ceiling.
Yeah. We played a lot of dominoes. That's how I learned how to play dominoes.
Yeah,
It's not.
I played a lot of spades.
Yeah, I mean, it's just lots of games you can play. It's not for me though. Yeah. None of those. I don't give two shit. My attention span is way too much. Like if I'm sitting there, like I have to have multiple sources of like stimulation, or I get fucking bored.
Yeah, like even like usually when I'm playing games, I also have like my music going and like something else.
Yeah, same. That's like, have you ever seen that interview with Kanye where he's like doing the deposition and he's got like a hat on and stuff? You ever seen that video?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, Kanye, we see you looking down. Are you like, staring at a phone? And he was like, yes. He's like, my mental genius capacity needs multiple forms of stimulation. And they're like, Kanye, can you get off your phone? He's like, no. He's like, counsel, can you? I'm like, Kanye, can you pay attention when they're asking you questions when you're on the phone? And he was like, and he sets his phone down, takes his hat off, and he pulls out a mask. And he puts a mask on, and he's just like staring up at the thing. Like, Kanye, why'd you put a mask on? Like, you don't deserve to see my face. Like, that's how I feel sometimes. I need multiple forms of stimulation to stimulate my geniusness. Oh shit, that's great, dude. All right, so yeah, little back on track now. What do you think after all of your experiences and fresh out, you know, what do you think the biggest thing you learned was? And it could be some sort of, you know, like actual academic learning or learning of like a life lesson you learned type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think definitely some of the biggest things I took away is like, for one, you never know what someone is going through. Like there are so many times where like either I had shit going on or I had friends who had like really major things going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would get to work and shit would just hit the fan or people would just be assholes that day or something.
Yeah.
And it is the hardest thing to keep those two things separate because there were definitely times where like things got so heated to a point to like where we needed to like separate people.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, you never know what people are going through. Just like try to be professional whenever you are at work.
100% agree. That was one of the biggest things I did, you know, like is work, and I separate my personal life from my work life, you know, like I've always tried to keep it, because like you just you if you're the same consistently, people will expect they know what to expect, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, like you just gotta be when you're at work, you just gotta be that's your work self, you know.
Yep.
For sure. But
that, and then also just the I definitely got a lot of different views on like how people see the world and how they feel about like just a whole large variety of topics, and it definitely broadened my understanding, my knowledge, and sort of shaped like some of the opinions I have now versus how I felt like 6 years ago.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It'll change you for sure.
Oh yeah.
I had somebody ask me the other day about like how long, like after someone gets out, are they like a new person? And I said sometimes it's days, weeks, sometimes it's years. Sometimes people live like my father was in the Marine Corps during like Vietnam era, and he still makes his bed every morning, folds his shirts the same way, his socks, his underwear, you know, like that's it.
If there are certain things that just get so ingrained into you that it never leaves.
Me? Fuck, dude. I got out the Marine Corps. I started living like a civilian before I even got out of the Marine Corps because I was so hurt by the Marine Corps. So like it all depends on the person. Different people. Yeah, like it takes different time lengths, you know?
Yeah, I think honestly the only thing that's still sticking with me after is just my sleep schedule.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like my sleep schedule is already fucking wild while in, and I just kind of kept it just because it works.
Yeah,
I've found the right amount of sleep.
Oh yeah, I'd say that stuck with me from the Marine Corps. Is like I sleep like 4 hours a day, and then I wake up I'm
and
good to
it's
go.
enough.
Yeah. People like literally, when I say I'm always awake, people will, they're like, oh, you sleep sometime, and I'm like, yeah, sometimes, but like, if you message me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll return your message. You know. Yep.
Also,
Yeah.
the power to sleep anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I developed that, and it is something that has been very useful.
For sure. Yeah, if I'm tired, I could just go to sleep.
Yep. Doesn't matter where I'm at. As long as I'm somewhere that I know is secure in some capacity.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm fucking out.
Yeah. Now, after everything you've gone through and stuff, what would you, if someone came up to you and they were like, "Yo, Abs, I'm thinking I'm gonna join the military. Like, do you have any advice for me?"
Go to college first.
That's fair. That's fair.
Get a degree. Join as an officer.
That's some advice for sure. You know, that's I mean, that's definitely a route to go through. Your life will be, I don't want to say easier, it'll be different. You'll have different kinds of responsibilities for sure. Absolutely.
You'll also get paid a hell of a lot more.
That is true. Absolutely true. But you got to you front loaded that work by going to college. So you get paid more in the long run, but you've already made that investment, you know?
Yeah.
So those and first,
like, if someone wants to join enlisted, it's very much, I think the biggest thing is just, I wouldn't take everything people tell you at face value.
Sure. Yeah.
Because so many people are just either unknowingly misinformed, and they'll tell you what they think is right, and it's not right.
Yeah.
So, like, sure, they could give you the answer, but double check that it's the right answer.
Yeah. And with that, like, do what feels right, because what they told you could be true from their perspective on how they're doing it, you know? Like,
yeah,
it could be true on, like, this worked for me because everything lined up, but that's not going to work the same for, you know, you if you do the exact same thing. Or you might be able to get out of things because of whatever reason. It might not work for you, you know? So absolutely, like, take it with a grain of salt and
document all of the things that the military has done to fuck you up.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are hurt, go to medical. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what, like, I always told Marines that, like, it's the same thing. It's why, like, when I got out the Marine Corps, my first visit to the VA, I got 70% off the bat. Just right away off the bat. I went in there and they were like, okay, what are we seeing you for? And I'm like, this, and this. And like, wow. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, do you have a copy of your medical record? I said, I sure do. And I pulled it out, and they were like, oh, fuck. I was like, good luck with reading that, you know? Because I know people who I was in the Marine Corps with that used to, like, you know, talk shit like, oh, you're going to medical? And I'm like, yeah, we did McMap and I fucked up my leg. Like, yeah, I'm going. And then now it's like they're on knee surgery 3 and they're coming out of pocket for it because they wanted to be tough. Like, oh, I don't need medical. It's like, well, all right, cool, man. We spend.
Yeah, one of my uncles, his Humvee got blown up twice while he was in Iraq.
Yeah.
And so he's had back surgery and I think a double knee replacement.
Yeah. On his dime?
No, thankfully.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. That was all in the military's dime.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. That's expensive.
Yeah, when, like, he came home after all that, I was still pretty young, and he had just gotten his knee surgeries like a couple of months before that, so he was still on crutches.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck happened? He's like, I had both my knees replaced. They're made of metal now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Didn't know why. Fast forward like 5 years, and my dad was like, oh yeah. I was like, hey, why does your brother have double knee replacement? He's like, oh, because he got blown up twice. And I was like, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I was like, how unlucky do you have to be for your Humvee to hit an IED twice?
I mean, they're all over the place.
Yeah, and then I found out. No, it's actually pretty common.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
It's yeah, a lot more common than you think, and it's quick. It's sometimes it's not that long in between.
Yeah, I think he went like a year.
Yeah,
I mean
that's a long time. You know, like especially being in country.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But, and then my other uncle who's in the army ended up going the warrant route. And made like CWO 4 or 5. Which is insane.
That's pretty good.
He was a heli pilot.
Yeah. Well, there's not that many of them, so promotions are a little easier.
Yeah, I mean, still the fact that every warrant is an act of Congress.
No, I'm not saying that like it's. I mean, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm trying not to like downplay it or anything like that, but.
No, it's just wild to me because I didn't know that before.
Yeah.
I joined and they're like, yeah, no, if you want to make warrant, Congress has to approve it. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
The fuck do you mean Congress has to approve it?
Well, a special council in not the entire Congress.
Yeah.
It's a special.
But it still goes
committee.
Goes that high up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it's.
And I was like, that's wild.
Very, very small. Yeah. That's why, like, because a lot of people think, like, there's a thing in the Marine Corps where it takes for a staff NCO to get busted down, it takes an act of Congress. And people are like, shit, Congress can't agree on what, and it's like, that's not what it is. It's not like they get the Democrats and Republicans to be like, okay, so staff sergeant, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, they don't, it's a special,
it's a much smaller committee.
Yeah, it's like a tiny little committee of probably like 5 or 6 people. But yeah, it's, that's pretty incredible though,
Yeah. I will say one other cool thing that happened while I was in CE school.
Yeah.
I got to meet the I forget his title. The highest enlisted Marine. I forget what his title is.
You mean like now? Or like, well, I'm assuming back then. Like the highest. Yeah, no.
Like he's the special E9.
The Commandant in the Marine Corps? That's the highest enlisted.
I think so.
Let's see. Let me pull up the Googles.
Like, staff, like major something in the Marine Corps or something like that? No, not major.
The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, I think so. Let me.
Who's the highest enlisted Marine? Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. That's who the
I got to meet him.
The enlisted version.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to meet him.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, just a nice guy.
Yeah.
I don't know why he was on the base, but he was on the base, and I just happened to meet him. He's like, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "No, not a clue. I'm in the Navy." He's like, "Oh." He's like, I'm the Marine version of the MCPON. And I was like, "Oh, shit. It's nice to meet you."
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Yeah, like, you make me nervous. You just stand
I was like, you're too high of a rank for me to be comfortable just standing here talking to you. I feel like I should be in an auditorium surrounded by a lot of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's so funny is like meeting people like that is a lot of times like if you're just chill and just treat them like a regular person, like is fucking no problem whatsoever. It's just chill.
Yeah, it's weird.
Oh, absolutely. Because you're like, fuck, dude. Like, you've spent more time fucking shitting while in uniform than I've been in the military.
Alive.
Yeah, than I've been in the military.
For me, probably alive.
Yeah. It's just crazy to me. You meet these, 20-year people, and as long as you're just chill and you treat them like a regular person, it's no problem.
Yep.
But I feel like they have like the celebrity mentality. You know what I mean? Of like,
yeah,
I'm just a regular dude. I'm a person. I'm just out here trying to, like
do a job.
Yeah, my job. You do a job. I do a job. It's just my job's a little different.
Yep.
So
I think the wildest thing I've ever heard from someone of that rank. So it was the MCPON at the time. So Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy.
Yeah.
So equivalent. The other boat that was in the yards with us, it was the USS George Washington. Right? Yeah. Yeah. They had a string of like, I think 6 or 7 suicides in less than a week.
Damn.
And like the entire crew was telling that command like, hey, like the conditions you guys have us living in and like working in are not fucking right. And whatnot. And the MCPON at the time, he's no longer the MCPON. He
sure.
He will say gracefully retired shortly after.
Yeah.
Showed up to their boat and my boat and essentially said, well, he actually said this part. He said, lower your standards.
That's reasonable, you know?
He told the command that just had 7 people commit suicide to lower their standards.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, you know, like lower your quality of living, you know, like it's it's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
he's like, hey, you could be living in a foxhole right now. And I'm like,
you could?
Why is this the comparison you're making? Are you not worried about why these people took their own lives? No, not at all. Oh, okay.
But it's
cool.
In that case, I'd rather be living in one because it's mine.
Yeah, I was like,
it's mine.
I was like, shit. At least, yeah, at least it's mine, and I can control. How I feel about it and what's inside it.
You can't fuck it up. Two notes to that, which I learned, and I'm sure it might even be different now. They no longer call them foxholes; they're fighting entrenchments. And if you're in one, you have to dig deep enough to where it goes up to like your sternum. Isn't that cool? Yeah. I'm fucking 6'4". You know how much fucking digging? You know how much fucking digging that shit is? It's crazy.
You got like a 3-foot hole.
It sucks, dude. Like people, like these short little fucks are digging, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm done." I'm like halfway done. Like,
I was gonna say I'm only 5'9", so like I ain't got that far to dig.
It sucks. So, but yeah, fun fact. So, now that you're out and about, what does the horizon look like for you? What are you planning on doing?
So I'm currently taking like a small little sabbatical, just to relax and not have to deal with
Makes
work.
Sense. No, it makes sense. Makes sense.
And then after that, once my partner gets their next set of orders, then depending on where we go, I'm gonna find a trade school out there and become an electrician.
Okay.
Start working towards that.
Sure.
Like because a lot of the trainings and like other stuff that I ended up doing with the cable team, as well as all the schooling I did for being an FC.
Yeah.
Ended up giving me hours towards electrician's trade school.
That's So, and I'm sure it's less to remember than everything that you've already learned.
Yeah. So like overall, I'm not too worried about it. It's more so just I gotta wait until we know where we're going next before I can do that part.
And did they re-enlist or like they're okay, so you're looking at like another 4 years?
Yeah, give or take. So we should know what their next set of orders are probably here within the year.
Oh, okay. That's not so bad.
So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm probably just gonna get like a small side, like a little side gig somewhere, probably doing like bartending or waiting tables.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Something easy.
I mean, the I mean, there's not a lot of fucking FC jobs out there that you could do to transfer to,
Yeah.
you know?
Like, really the only one, like, the only thing, like, technically outside of the military that I could go do is I could work for the company that makes the gun.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, what do they do?
They are a communications tech. So they work on all the phone lines and all the other communication systems inside the boat.
Nice. That's cool.
Yep.
That's pretty awesome. Well, that's interesting. That's awesome. Is there, I mean, a lot of times when I do this, you know, the other person is like a streamer. Is there anything you want to plug? Like, you gonna start streaming? Are you gonna do? You writing a book?
No, I couldn't do streaming.
Are you gonna, you know, like, is there anything plans in the future like that?
No, nothing quite like that.
Okay.
I will say, however, VOP University beanie.
That's correct.
Great. I've low key been wearing this shit so much.
Nice.
Just because it's comfy.
It's true. That VOP merch out there it's comfortable, you know. They do.
And I wore it when I went on a hike, and my buddy was like, "Where the fuck did you get that beanie?" I was like, "Oh, one of the guys I know has a merch shop," and he's like, "Oh, sick."
That's right. It's true. It's true. If you want your own merch, there is a merchandise store out there that you guys could pick up. No one's ever plugged my merch before one of these things, so
I got you. Look, I ain't got nothing else. Might as well.
No, you good. I'm all about it. I'm so tired of these phone calls of people like, you've been pre-approved for $64 million, you know, type fucking. I'm like, yeah, dude. I got approved.
I got told that my car loan from Hawaii has expired.
Nice. Yeah, I keep getting these phone calls about I'm pre-approved for like $65,000, and I was like, yo, I owe less on my house than that, you know, like crazy. But
yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, we have merch, VOP University. If y'all want t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, we got stickers, check it out. There'll be more stuff coming up. This weekend is our summer Vopathon, so there might be exclusive summer Vopathon merch. Might be, you don't ever know. You have to be around to see it.
Let's go.
But yeah, so but yet again, that's a plug for the live stream, because this will be on the YouTubes for
I have streamed once in my life.
Sure.
And that was because some friends wanted to watch me and two buddies struggle to do the contest clear for Standard Doctrine instead of, because they're like, I won't be around to do it, or they're like, I don't really want to do it. And I was like, well, if you guys want to watch us do it, go ahead. Here you go. And there's a single, now whenever I like bonk or anyone like shouts me out on the stream, it shows the one clip of me dying. I'm like, no.
There you go.
I should have never streamed.
So you heard it first, folks. Abs is gonna be the fucking Destiny 2 streamer. Watch, mark my words.
Absolutely not. You got me fucked up.
That's crazy. Yeah, but yet again, I do appreciate it, dude. Final thoughts? You got any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I mean, the military definitely was like a large chapter of my life that is now ending.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that it's over, but you know, I will definitely miss some of the people that I worked with. Not many, but some. But those people that I will miss seeing in person, I still keep in touch with a lot, so that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, if there's this channel that they can go on and tell their story if they want, you know.
Yeah, most of them are still in.
Because
they decided that was a smart idea, and I was like, fools.
Yeah, you fools. But yeah, I appreciate it, man. And so like this is we had talked about this. So like I wanted to do one where it's like a few days out, which has been it hasn't been that long. But we're gonna try
less than a week.
Yeah, gonna try to do this like a year from now and see the difference between
for sure.
then and then, or now and then, just to see. I always thought that was an interesting thing. So stay tuned for Abs Part 2 next year, and we'll see what's going on. He'll be a Destiny 2.
Hopefully by then I'll have a house.
He'll be a Destiny 2 streamer with that 3.0 armor and stuff like that. But okay, so at the very, very end, we open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions out there? I know a lot of people are like lurking and stuff. What up, Wolfblood? Yeah, you missed the whole thing.
Hi, Wolf.
We're like right at the end,
wow.
You know. He said
Couldn't
it himself.
Even tune in.
He said it himself. He says, "Oh, I missed the whole thing." Yeah, he's, you know. So Abs, do you have anything related to his military service or or anything like that? Yes, Wolfblood, I've been harping on him to get his PC up so we could be playing some Night Rain together.
But that should hopefully happen here in the next like month or so. We'll see.
So you hear it, Abs is gonna be a Night Rain streamer.
I'm not that good.
Yeah. This was asked before. Any questions? Yeah, we can answer that after we finish this. Because I'm going to end and then restart back up because we're gonna be playing some Night Rain. So, but yeah.
I love living in.
Oh, okay. Any future aspirations that you're looking forward to going for?
Yeah, hopefully by the time after I finish trade school, I'm gonna be shooting for master electrician as soon as I can.
Nice. That's I mean, at that point, like, you might as well try to like open up your own little company.
Yeah, I might. That or at least be like an executive or something for like a larger company. One of the two.
Less stress, you know.
Yeah.
Abs electricity. I mean, you know, praise the sun electricity. I mean,
praise the electricity.
Praise the electricity with like with Solaire on the front, but it's just a lightning bolt instead of like the sun. Look, I'm just.
Oh yeah.
I'm giving you these ones for free.
Thank you.
But cool. All right, man. Well, I appreciate this. And we will be back, you know, like a year from now for this. But Ride the Lightning Electric Company.
Nice.
That's not bad. Maybe some copyright things in there. With that one, I feel like that's a direct. Well, it's fine. But yeah. So this will be up on YouTube within like 2 weeks ish. And then yeah. But for those of you watching, I appreciate it live. Those of you watching the VOD on the YouTubes, I appreciate it too. More than you know. The YouTube doesn't get enough love, and I need to do more stuff. It is whatever. That doesn't matter. But if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm probably live on twitch.tv/VOP Gaming. That you could come check it out. Also, what was it? Kojin? Thank you for the follow. You followed earlier. I appreciate it. Sir Bacon Lee. I appreciate the follow. J-Rod. 28 months, my dad.
Bacon and Bacon too?
Yeah, Sir Bacon Lee. He followed earlier too. I don't necessarily want to while we're doing these things, I wanted the focus to be on Abs, you know, because it's about him and his story, you know, so I didn't want to take away from that that's why everything's disabled, so no subs show up, no bits, no nothing, because it's kind of about, you know, Abs and his story. Oh god, so,
if Bacon and Kyojin are here, god, how many other people are here? Oh no.
Yeah, Bacon appreciates it. Can you link the YouTube? There is a link tree. Oh, so in the link tree, it's there. It served and it gave you the wrong channel. Yeah, I will look. I'll look that up here in a second. And try and fix it. Oh, I did not mean to push play on that song. luckily I caught it before it was anything copyright happened. But yeah, I'll try and fix the link to make sure it works. It should be up and running, but if it's not, I'll get to it soon. But if you're watching on YouTube, I fixed it. Way to go, past me. If you had to search on YouTube, get it future me right now and tell him, hey, you didn't fix the link, dumbass. So I appreciate that. But yeah, with that being said, thank you very much for coming out and doing this. And
yeah, of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to the next one.
For sure.
But, for those of you out there, thank you very much for your support. Remember who you are, and we'll see you in the next one.